Hi guys, it's me ChazzaHD and welcome to the race watch along for the 2019 British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where today we have, I think, a great race in store at Silverstone because the front four in qualifying were very close to each other. That's Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc and Verstappen. Also, we'll be looking out for Sebastian Vettel possibly coming through the field. And the midfield, definitely the first half of it looks very, very competitive and close. So I think we're definitely in for some overtakes and some close racing, especially around the pit stop phases. So I think we are in for a good race today, and I don't think the winner of this race is quite certain. So yeah, I think we are in for a competitive Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys who are watching right now are doing well on what is for me a early Sunday afternoon. And no matter where in the world, hopefully, again, you are doing well, and hopefully you're going to enjoy with me and Nib, who will join us later on for the race watch along for this British Grand Prix. But before I get into the teams and preview how I think they are going to do at Silverstone today in what is overcast conditions, by the way, so far, let's first look at the results of qualifying and what went down. So, on pole position is Valtteri Bottas by 6 thousandths of a second from teammate and home driver Lewis Hamilton. Third, Charles Leclerc. Fourth, Max Verstappen. Then fifth, very impressively for once, Pierre Gasly. P6, Sebastian Vettel. P7, Daniel Ricciardo. P8, Lando Norris. P9, Alexander Albon. And then P10, Nico Hülkenberg. And then getting knocked out in Q2 was Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Sainz, Grosjean and Perez. And then knocked out in Q1 was Kevin Magnussen, Daniel Kvyat, Lance Stroll, George Russell and Robert Kubica. And that is because we haven't had any penalties. That is your grid, your starting grid for this British Grand Prix. But now, let's get into previewing the teams and start off at the very top. First off, Mercedes. Now, in qualifying, I think they did have probably the best car, but not by an absolute mile, because I think Ferrari and even Red Bull were not too far off. And in today's race, I think they're definitely not in for an easy Grand Prix, because Leclerc looks pretty quick, has looked the case so far this weekend, and Max Verstappen put in an incredible qualifying lap yesterday, and it could have been even better for Verstappen if he didn't have turbo lag from his Honda. So Mercedes, they probably should have the best car, but again, it's not going to be an easy 1-2 where they're pulling out half a second a lap or anything like that. They're going to be definitely under threat from at least one driver, probably either Leclerc or Verstappen. But when it comes, of course, to the drivers and the Drivers' Championship, Valtteri Bottas, if he wants to win today, what he absolutely has to do is maintain the lead at the end of the first lap. Now, I'm not saying that because I think he'll definitely win the race if he maintains the lead at the end of the first lap. But if he does lose the lead to Lewis Hamilton, who I do expect to be quicker today in the race, then his chances of beating Hamilton, which he has to do for the Drivers' World Championship, his chances of that are not really that good. So if he does maintain the lead, then his chances are very good, and hopefully for him he does, and hopefully we see a battle, a proper battle between Bottas and Hamilton for that race victory. But again, I think they might be a bit more under threat than they have been at times in 2019. Next up is Ferrari. They line up 3rd and 6th for this race today. And I think in terms of the pace of the car, they are not too bad. But I think coming into this race, because of the different tyre strategies that Ferrari have gone for compared to Mercedes and Red Bull, Ferrari's race is going to be a bit weird today, because it's not going to play out as smoothly as it would be for those other teams. Because, of course, Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel start on the soft compound tyres, and Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen and Gasly are on medium tyres. So, in terms of tyre wear, Ferrari are at a disadvantage. But because the track temperature is not that high. And also, because the tyres this weekend are actually the hardest tyres possible for a Grand Prix that you could bring, I don't think the soft tyres in the first few laps are necessarily going to be a bad tyre, because I think, again, because the temperature is not exactly at, Paul Ricard or Red Bull Ring levels, that soft tyre is not going to degrade as much as it normally would be. If it was, if the track temperature today was 45 to 50, then I think the soft tyres would really struggle. But because it's only about 29, 30 track temperature, I think that could help Ferrari's tyre strategy today. And I think, honestly, when it comes to their race, they have to gain at the start, because if they lose position at the start and then they're unable to make up positions in the first few laps, then their race will get worse, because the tyre wear will kick in earlier for them than Mercedes and Red Bull, and they'll end up with a result that's quite frankly not good enough. So they've got to, in the first few laps, Leclerc and Vettel go into attack mode and just try and make up as many positions as possible, because by, say, lap 10, probably at the latest, tyre wear for them will start to kick in, because, of course, they are on that soft compound of tyre. Next up is Red Bull. Red Bull were very good in qualifying. They were about half a second quicker in qualifying than they were this time last year at the same Grand Prix, and they look as though they have closed the gap to Mercedes, especially, by about half a second. So Red Bull, especially with Max Verstappen, looking really good. And I think Max Verstappen, because of what he did in Austria, he is definitely a dark horse to win. How can you deny that? Because in Austria, the way he overtook people, he made it look so effortless, in the way he passed people, especially with Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas. So who can really, deny that Max Verstappen has a great chance of winning today? I think if Max Verstappen does gain at the start, I think he is in definitely for a good chance of winning the race, because as we know, even in the first part of 2019, even when the Red Bull car wasn't too great, still, when it came to race pace, the Red Bull was still a lot better. So expect Max Verstappen to be very quick today in the Red Bull. And when it comes to this race, I think definitely for the top teams, the start is very, very important, because of the different tyres that some drivers and teams are starting on. But guys, before we get into the midfield for the next 5 minutes or so, let me know in the live chat, for the top teams, what do you think will happen? For Mercedes, do you think they can go out and get the win today? And do you think Lewis Hamilton will get it? For Ferrari, do you think their soft tyre gamble is going to work in these colder and overcast conditions? And for Red Bull, especially with Max Verstappen, after Austria, do you think that, again, he has a great chance of winning? Let me know in the live chat, and I'll come to you guys in just a moment for 5 minutes or so. Then we'll get into that midfield. But guys, before I do, just want to say, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as this is the only channel in the F1 community that does consistently watch-alongs for every Grand Prix. That's practice to qualifying in the race. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell, and also smash the like button if you want to see this content continue on the channel. But now, let's come to you guys to see what you guys are saying in terms of today's Grand Prix. Ashray says Ferrari have the advantage at the start. They do. And also, good for Charles Leclerc is that he's on the clean side of the grid. So if he does get a good initial getaway, then because he is on that softer compound, he should climb at least one position and maybe go for first place. So definitely watch out for Charles Leclerc at the start of the British Grand Prix. By the way, thank you, Ethan, who says best live stream ever. Right, let me find some other comments here. Prussia says, why does everybody hate Vettel? I don't think everybody hates Vettel. I think just if you look at his weekend so far, you can't exactly praise the guy, can you? He has been poor this weekend. There are factors as to why he has been poor. For example, he's struggling with the rear end of the car being a bit looser than normal. But, you know, if you're a driver like him, a four-time world champion, you should be able to drive around that sort of stuff and still be pretty close to your teammate if you are being beaten by your teammate, not be, you know, half a second off the pace. So I think Vettel does deserve criticism for this weekend. I think in France and Austria, he does deserve a bit of a pass because there were reliability issues and that kind of affected his results in the race. But this weekend, I'm sorry, you cannot excuse what he did, or what he has done rather. Right, let me look for some others. Annette says, I'm just looking forward to seeing Leclerc and Verstappen starting next to each other. Yep, that is going to be very interesting. And I think in today's race, we are going to see those two definitely very close to each other, because if Leclerc and Verstappen maintain position at the start, then once Leclerc's tyres start to go away, because Max is on the medium, he should start to close up to Leclerc and probably have a go before the pit stop. So definitely look out for them. And I think at the start, if they both get a better start or just as good a start as Bottas and Hamilton, then you can expect them to be very aggressive into turn 1 and also turn 3 and turn 4 and down into Brooklands as well. Right, let's find some others. Matthew Felton says, okay, off to work. Sadly, going to miss the race. You guys have a good time for me. Hopefully. Yeah, we will. Hopefully we'll get a good race. Ronan Brady, if you look at the last 12 months for Vettel from Germany last year, do you think it has been worse than 2014? No, I don't think it has, because, well, in 2014, he didn't win a race. In the last year since that Hockenheim era, he has won a race at Spa. And there has been races where he has looked good, like Mexico, Abu Dhabi, Canada this year. So I don't agree. I don't think it's been that bad. 2014 was definitely a bad year for him. Sebastian says Britain is a hard place to overtake. I massively disagree. It's actually one of the best tracks to overtake on, because a lot of it is flat out and fast. So because of that, and because of how fast it is, and because of how good the cars are in terms of grip compared to how they used to be, following the car ahead is actually a lot better at this track than it would be at others, because of how fast it is, and you can, you know, get the toe and stay in the slipstream. So it is actually a good overtaking track. And well, if you look at last year, I think that's pretty much, you know, a showcase of we can, and we normally do, get very good racing at Silverstone, because there are fast enough parts of the track where you can continuously follow until you get into a DRS zone, especially from Luffield all the way until Stowe, or the exit of Stowe. Right, let me find one more comment and then we will get onto the midfield. Yosef says, Chaz, keep this up, please. I want to see this channel become huge. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, hopefully we can become a big channel. We are growing quite a lot. We are really, going along now. And the end of year target for subs, which is 10k, is not that far away. We might be hitting it, say late September, early October. So yeah, we're looking good. But obviously, I've got to keep it up. But now, let's get into that midfield, which I think will be very, very close today. So first off, Renault. Renault yesterday in qualifying were actually better than they thought they would be. I didn't think Renault thought they'd be P7 and P10 and be fronting the midfield with one of their drivers. So great result for Renault. Can they maintain that today? I think they can. As long as they stay out of trouble, they should have the race pace to finish at least one car in the points, probably both. The Renault car definitely, as we've seen plenty of times, is always better when it comes to race pace. So given that in qualifying they were actually pretty good, that should translate into this Grand Prix. So Renault, I think, will maintain definitely in the first part of the Grand Prix a strong position. The only worry for Renault is that Nico Hülkenberg is the last runner in the top 10 that is starting on the soft compound tyre. Now, because I think teams outside the top 10 are going to be starting on either the medium or the hard compound tyre, he will definitely come under threat from those drivers once his tyre wear on the soft tyre kicks in. So that is a bit of a worry for Hülkenberg. So for him, he does need to have a good start so he can be, closer to his teammate and kind of, drag himself along. But I think Renault are definitely in for somewhat a good Grand Prix, and they need to start closing in on this team, McLaren, who didn't have that good of a qualifying session. Lando Norris was P8. I think Lando, to be honest, did pretty well. I don't think the McLaren car, to be honest, was as quick as they thought it would be. So I thought Lando did well, but Carlos Sainz, terrible in P13, and, well, that's obviously not good for him. Now, the only positive for Carlos Sainz is that because he, qualified outside the top 10, he can start on whatever tyres he wants to. So he should be on a better tyre strategy for the race than he would be if he started inside the top 10. But where he's starting from is not exactly, great, especially with certain drivers around him who are prone to crashes, such as Romain Grosjean or Antonio Giovinazzi. So it is not a great position for Carlos to start from, but as long as he can stay out of trouble and he is on, say, the medium to start with, he should be fine for this Grand Prix to maybe nick a point at the end of the day. But for McLaren, all they need to do really is concentrate on outscoring Renault. As long as they do that, I don't think it'll be a bad race at all. Yeah, maybe they won't be at the absolute front of the midfield, but again, as long as they outscore Renault, I think that's good enough. So, from McLaren's point of view, hopefully they can do that. Next up is Alfa Romeo. Alfa qualifying was, let's just say, not as good. Alfa, it wasn't as good for Alfa qualifying as I thought it would be, say, a week ago. It definitely was not as good. So, I think they might be slightly disappointed with how they did in qualifying. But, as I've said with Carlos Sainz, because they're starting outside the top 10, that is going to give Alfa some good options going forward for the Grand Prix. Because, again, they can start on whatever tyres they want to. So I think Alfa are definitely going to be in there with, say, Albon, Hülkenberg, maybe Norris and Ricciardo, but I think they'll be in there. But I don't think Alfa are as strong this weekend as the team were hoping and as I and Nib were expecting. So not great for Alfa, but they can still nick a point or two. And I think as long as they get a car into the top 10 at the end of the race, I think they'll be happy with that, because hasn't been the smoothest or greatest weekend for Alfa Romeo. Next up is Haas F1. Well, what is there to say? P14 and P16 on the grid. That's terrible for Haas. It really is, especially, again, when you consider that when it comes to race pace and tyre wear, they are by far the worst on well, you could even say the worst on the grid when it comes to race pace, because they were behind Williams in Austria. The Haas, considering how bad they were in qualifying, I don't see how they get anywhere near the points. I actually think they might get lapped by Ricciardo or Norris today. I honestly think that, because they're what, half a second to 3/4 of a second slower than them when it comes to qualifying pace. You can add a second to that in the race. So I think, yeah, I think they're going to be very, very bad today. And I think, honestly, they could get lapped a couple times. They're so bad at the moment. Haas, and it really just is never going to get better for them, I think, this season. I think they're just basically done. Next up is Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso, I think qualifying was good for one of their drivers, but it wasn't as good as they were hoping for after the practice they had, because their car looked as though it was consistently between, say, P9 and P12. They do have a car in P9, being Alexander Albon, which is great. And by the way, I want to say again, Alex Albon, his performance was very, very underrated in qualifying. I thought he was one of the stars of qualifying, honestly, to get his car into that position. But with Daniel Kvyat down in, what, P17, it kind of makes Toro Rosso's race a bit hard, because what they were hoping for is two cars that could be right in there going for points, but they only have really one car that is able to do that. So I think scoring points for Toro Rosso is going to be pretty hard. If they do get a points finish, I think Toro Rosso have had a very good weekend, but it's going to be hard because you've got Carlos Sainz behind, you've got the two Alphas. Racing Point, we know, will come forward and have good starts to the race. So it's going to be tough. It really is going to be tough. Hopefully they can maintain the type of position they have with Albon. But again, it really is going to be a tough Grand Prix for Toro Rosso. But hopefully they can nick a point. And the last in the midfield is Racing Point, who still have the worst car in the midfield. I think Sergio Perez actually did pretty well to get P15, and at times in Q2 he was actually in P12, so Perez was pretty good in qualifying, but I don't think he could have got any better than he did P15, because the Racing Point just isn't a good car when it comes to qualifying. Of course, Stroll again was knocked out in Q1. Now, as we know, at the start, Racing Point will gain positions, but will they finish in the points? I don't think so, because if you look at race pace, Racing Point will be better than Haas, so you can tick them off in terms of rivals. I think Racing Point will be faster than them, but if you look at the others, Alfa, Renault, McLaren and Toro Rosso, I'm not sure they'll be faster than any of those in the race. Maybe Toro Rosso, but Alfa, Renault, McLaren, I'm not sure they will at all. So I think Racing Point, I think the best they can get is probably a P13. P14, I don't think they can get into the points. I don't think they'll be miles off, but I don't think they'll be, right there like they were in Austria. Because in Austria, they were only like 2 seconds or 3 seconds away from a points finish. So it will be definitely a tough day for Racing Point if they are to finish in the points. And of course, at the back is Williams. Hopefully Russell has a good home race and finishes it and showcases why he is such a good driver. But of course, for Williams, they are going to be at the very, very back. But guys, with 35 minutes to go until the race, let me know in the live chat, what do you think will happen in the midfield? Do you think Renault are going to maintain position? Do you think McLaren will improve on what was a slightly disappointing qualifying? Do you think Alfa will get in the points? Do you think Toro Rosso are going to finish where they started? Do you think Haas will be bad again? I think, yeah, they will be, but I want to know what you guys think. And for Racing Point, how many positions do you think they can climb? By the way, great thing that Racing Point have done, if you don't know, every position they gain during the race, I think a breast cancer charity will donate, or Sport Pezza will donate £250,000, I think, for every position gained. I think that is the case. That's a great initiative they've done, and hopefully they do gain positions at the start and they don't crash out on the first lap with both cars, because that is really not going to be a good thing, of course. But yeah, let me know in the chat what you think, and I'll come to your comments in a minute. But I'm going to quickly have a drink, and then we'll get on to your comments. Right. So for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, we'll look at what you guys have to say. Francis says it's £5,000 per overtake. Okay, I thought I had someone say it was $250,000, but clearly I'm wrong. Right, let me look at some other comments here. Mysterious Chris says, I hope after the summer break Russell heads to another team, although staying in Williams could open up the potential for him to go to Mercedes. He would still have to wait a while though for a spot. Yeah, I think Russell, and I did by the way, if you haven't checked it out, it's actually not, I wouldn't say going viral, but the video is doing well in terms of views. If you want to, guys, make sure after the race is finished and after the stream's finished, make sure to go and check out the 2020 driver lineup prediction video I did on Tuesday. It's on the channel. I uploaded it earlier this week. I said in that, I think Russell will stay at the team in 2020 because where can he go? And he's also got a long-term contract, I believe, at Williams. So I don't see how he's going to go anywhere. And also, Williams are desperate to keep him because they think he is a future world champion. And you know what? I think if you put him in the right car, I think he is. I think he is. He's a very, very good driver and he deserves to get into a car, first off, that can be in the points. But, of course, he can't at the moment. Right, let me look at some other comments here. Renault versus McLaren fight of the season. Yeah, in terms of the P4 and the constructors fight, it's definitely between McLaren and Renault. Alfa, Toro Rosso, Racing Point, Haas, they don't have the consistency to be up there, and also they don't have as good a driver lineups as Renault and McLaren, so they can't, consistently compete. Maybe at, certain races like Alfa at Austria, they can compete, but on a consistent basis, I don't think they really can. Right, let me look for some other comments here. Let me look. Is it going to rain in the race? I'm looking currently at cars coming to the grid, be lined up on the grid with just over half an hour to go to the race. I think there is rain in the area, but it's mostly overcast, and if it does rain, it'll probably be drizzle. I don't think it'll be, proper rain where they have to put on the intermediate tyres. Hopefully there is proper rain, because as you guys would have known if you've watched Formula 1 in the past, when it rains at Silverstone, we get great racing. So hopefully it does, but it looks as though the rain is going to hold off for probably the race, the entire race. But again, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we do get rain. Right, let me look for some other comments. Jordi says Merc versus Red Bull fight. That's what I want to see. I think if we can have the front four, Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc, Verstappen, being as close on track as they were in qualifying, that would be great. I don't think that will necessarily be the case because I think, for example, Ferrari, their race pace will not be as good as their qualifying pace. And, I don't think, if Verstappen does get held up by Leclerc, that might affect him going after Bottas and Hamilton. So we'll have to see. But hopefully we get the front four on the grid being as close as they were in quali. Right, let me look at some other comments here. I think that this is Mysterious Chris, I think that Haas's problem with the tyres has to deal with the front wing. Haas is the only team with a straight wing and is also the team with the worst tyre problems. I may be wrong, don't mark me. I haven't actually thought of that before. I'll have to take a closer look at the Haas front wing. Actually, let's try and get it up a minute. So, there you go. We can't really see it from this angle, but I'll have to, you know, take a closer look sometime, because definitely with Ferrari, I think their understeer and tyre issues have definitely been brought on by their design of the front wing, which is radical but also lacks, you know, real front end downforce compared to Mercedes, Red Bull, and even other teams like Renault, McLaren. So yeah. Right, let me read out a couple more comments and then we'll get on to the tyre situation. And by the way, guys, the tyre situation is very, very interesting today, because Pirelli have come out and said what they think the quickest strategies are today, and they're not the ones you're expecting. It's very, very weird, honestly. I'll get onto it in a moment. Let me look at some other comments here. Damp conditions, let it rain, let it rain. I want to see Lewis lap the field like he did here in 2008. Well, he didn't lap the entire field, but yeah, he lapped everyone up to third place, and third place being Rubens Barrichello. I think it would take something monumental from the weather for it to rain that hard, because that day it was torrential. Plenty of people saying they hope for rain. I do too. Let me look for some more comments. Jungle Brother says Russell is not better than Ocon. I don't think we can say who's better out of those two, because Russell is not in a comparative enough car. And Ocon is out of Formula 1 at the moment, so we can't say who is better out of Russell and Ocon. I think if Ocon does go to Williams in 2020, which would be great from, you know, our point of view in terms of seeing who is better, then we would see who is better. And I wouldn't be surprised if Russell turned out to be the better driver. But at the moment, based on what we've seen in Formula 1, you can't compare them, because Russell has, you know, been this year in a car that's basically like a Caterham or a HRT from 2011 or 2012. That's the equivalent of the Williams. And Ocon was in a strong midfield car. I mean, in 2017, Ocon was in the best car in the midfield, so we can't compare them. We cannot compare them, I'm afraid. But, you know, if Russell became teammates with, I don't know, Sergio Perez, if he beat him, then I think that'd prove he's better than Ocon. But again, we can't do that comparison, I'm afraid. Rain dance time, everyone. Right, let me find one more comment and then we'll get on to the tyres. Astro Stevo says Red Bull Racing messed Daniel Ricciardo about terribly last year with his cursed car. When he had equal machinery, he beat Verstappen. Example, Mexico pole. I'm not going to comment on that, because we're going down a very deep rabbit hole if we do. But anyway, I think now we'll get on to the tyres. So here are the available sets of tyres for the drivers today at the 2019 British Grand Prix. Now, before I get into the available sets, I need to first talk about Pirelli and their recommendations for what is the quickest strategies today at Silverstone. Now, coming into this weekend, and I still believe it will be a one-stop race, but Pirelli have come out and said that the quickest strategy today is a two-stop, which is really weird, because that's not normally, doing a two-stop is not normally, unless the tyre wear is really bad, it's not normally the thing you do. Normally you try to do a one-stop race if you can, and I think most people will do today a one-stop race, but Pirelli reckon that the quickest way is a two-stop, and the quickest way of doing that is pitting for soft tyres around lap 10 to lap 12, and then pitting again from that tyre and going on to the hard tyre around half distance and going to the end. That's what Pirelli reckon is the fastest strategy. The second fastest strategy, according to Pirelli, is also a two-stop, which I believe is going from medium and then soft to soft, I think. And then the slowest one is a three-stop. Again, I'm very surprised that they don't think a one-stop is the quickest way to go. But I think in today's race we will see a one-stop race. Maybe a couple drivers will try a two-stop if they haven't got anything to lose, but I think people mostly will do a one-stop because I don't think the tyre wear is going to be quite as bad as Pirelli think. And also, this weekend we have the hardest tyres possible you can bring to a Grand Prix. If we had the, the C4, C3 and C2, maybe it would be a two-stop, but we have the hardest tyres possible, so I don't think that'll be the case. And also, if you look at the race sets, which we'll get into now, if the teams were going to do a two-stop, I think they'd have more new tyres available for them. So Hamilton, of course, and Bottas start on the medium tyres. Hamilton has one new set of hards and softs. I think Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas are going to pit from medium onto hard tyres. I don't see why they would try to use the soft tyre. Ferrari, though, of course, start on the soft compound of tyre. Now, that does make their race a bit different to Mercedes and also Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel has one new set of medium and hard tyres. What I think Vettel will do is probably go soft to hard. He could go soft to medium, but I don't think the medium will go as far as Ferrari want it to if they pit, say, around lap 15 or something like that. Charles Leclerc, though, has one new set of the soft tyres and the hard tyres, so he could theoretically do a two-stop like Pirelli say by going onto the soft at the first stop and then at the second stop going onto the hard tyre. So he could do it, but again, I don't believe he will unless he has enough of a gap to do so. So I think Leclerc will do a one-stop. Also, I think the Red Bulls will because they start on the medium. And then as we get into the midfield, yeah, I think these teams are probably going to do a one-stop race. Hulkenberg, though, will find it hard to do so because he doesn't have a new set of hard tyres. He does have one used set of hard tyres, so they should be fine to put on, but that will make his life a bit more difficult at the end of the race. But for all the other teams, it should be a one-stop race given the tyres they do have. Now, I am hoping that Pirelli are right and that we get a two-stop, because the more stops we get in a race, it tends to be more exciting when it comes to strategy and tyres, but I don't think we will get a two-stop race because, again, we have the hardest tyres possible. And also, I made this point yesterday and it is true, that the pit lane loss at Silverstone is way too big. It's basically half a minute. So I don't see teams pitting an extra time and, wasting half a minute to their rivals. And if you're in the midfield, especially if you pit for a second time, you're giving up a lot of positions. So I don't see how a two-stop is going to happen today. But now that we're done with the tyres, we are now going to go on to our predictions for the 2019 British Grand Prix. Now, guys, please let me know in the live chat for the next 20 minutes or so. Let me know who do you think will win the race, finish in second, third, fourth, fifth, and then you can do the top 10 if you like. But I'm probably only going to do the top 6 instead of the top 10 or even more than that. So, yeah, make sure to put that in the live chat and I'll read it out as we get closer to the start of the race. And also I'll bring Nib in about 5 minutes or so to get his thoughts as to what he thinks will happen today at Silverstone. So this is what I think will happen. Winning the race, I think, will be Lewis Hamilton, because I think when it comes to race pace, he will have enough to win the Grand Prix. Yeah, he will have enough to win the Grand Prix, I think. Because I think when it comes to race pace, he is definitely faster than Valtteri Bottas. We've seen this in the past. Bottas is not that great when it comes to race pace. He's rarely been great at it, at all. So I think Hamilton will probably somehow during the race, because he's so good at this circuit, he will get past, whether that's a tyre stop or even at the start of the Grand Prix. He will, I think, find his way past. So I think Lewis Hamilton will be winning the Grand Prix for the 6th time at Silverstone. And Mercedes, if they do get another victory, that'll be their 6th race victory at Silverstone. So Lewis and Mercedes going for a good record, and hopefully from their point of view, they do get it. But still, it will be hard for Lewis Hamilton this race because this guy will be in P2 and will be very close at the end of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen will be in P2 because he is, when it comes to the races, so quick, so consistent, and when it comes to overtakes, he is so good at getting them done at critical moments, and I think he will have to do some overtaking today to get into P2. I think at the start, as long as he maintains P4, he should be fine for a podium at least. But I think he will probably gain at the start, and I'll get onto that in just a moment with my third place man. But if Max does, finish in P2, that'll be his second podium at Silverstone. His last one was 2016 in that great drive in the wet. And Red Bull, if they do win, it will be their first win at Silverstone since 2012. That day, it was Mark Webber in the sunshine in a classic drive. That was his last ever race win, I believe. Classic drive, great overtake on Fernando Alonso. That's how long it's been since Red Bull have won at Silverstone. And this is kind of another home race for Red Bull because they're only based in Milton Keynes and that's not that far from the track. So it is kind of a home race for them, and hopefully for them, they can appear on the podium. But in third place, I'm going to go for the Finn Valtteri Bottas because I think the car will be quick enough to be on the podium with both cars. I don't think they'll be too slow in the race compared to Leclerc, Verstappen, Vettel, Gasly. Valtteri Bottas to end up off the podium. I think Valtteri, again, will somehow lose the lead to Lewis Hamilton. And I think because of how great Max Verstappen is when it comes to race pace, I think Max Verstappen will, either through pit stops or overtakes, will get past Bottas for P2. And I think really the reason Valtteri will finish ahead of Leclerc and Vettel in the race for P3 is because he is on the best tyre to start on. And I think that will matter a lot, especially when we get between lap 10 and lap 20. So I think that definitely will ensure Valtteri Bottas on the podium. And then after that, I'm going to go P4 for Charles Leclerc, P5 for Sebastian Vettel, because I think he will be fast enough to get that. And then P6 will be Pierre Gasly. And then after that, who knows? Who knows? You could have Carlos Sainz at the front of the midfield. Who knows? It's that close. But yeah, for the next 15 minutes, guys, let me know who do you think will win the race, finish in second, finish in third, and the rest. And I'll read as many out as I can before the race gets underway. But now, let me bring in Nib for the race watch along and get his thoughts as to what's going to happen in the race today. Nib, great to see you again. And yeah, what do you think is going to happen today?
Yep, it's good to be along as per usual, but usually when we're doing my predictions, I have to make it up in the last 5 minutes, but I actually believe to know what's going to happen today, so we'll get straight on to my predictions. Winning the race, I think it's going to be Max Verstappen. I just have a feeling that after Austria and Red Bull, they've looked very strong so far this weekend. I think that Max Verstappen is going to pull out another incredible drive and win the Grand Prix. In second place, I think it's going to be Lewis Hamilton. Of course, he's going to be very hard to stop here. I definitely said in the podcast he'd be unstoppable here, and we've already seen him be stopped by his teammate Valtteri Bottas so far this weekend. So I think that he's going to get stopped again, and it'll be by the Verstopper. So Hamilton will finish second, and then in third place, I think it's going to be Charles Leclerc. He's been super quick all weekend long. And Ferrari starting on the soft tyre, I think that he's going to get ahead of at least one of the Mercedes at the start, and I think he will finish in P3. I'm not sure about the rest because, of course, it could go any way, but that's certainly going to be my podium predictions for this Grand Prix.
Absolutely, and I definitely think the top four, maybe at most the top five, are going to be very close today. And I don't think the top four will be separated by that much at the end of the race, maybe even 10, 15 seconds, because they're going to be, all those drivers are going to be pretty quick at certain points of the Grand Prix. But guys, again, let me know in the chat what you think will happen. But before I read out your predictions, I just want to say again, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, because we do watch-alongs consistently for every F1 race weekend. That's practice 2, qualifying, and the race on a Sunday. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage, subscribe there, and hit the notifications bell, and also smash the like button if you want to see this content continue on the channel. But let's now read out what you guys have to say, and let's see what you guys have to say as to what will happen in the Grand Prix. Right, let me get to the first prediction and then we'll get going. So, the first one is from Friction, who says Hamilton to win from Bottas second, Vettel third, Verstappen fourth, Leclerc fifth, Gasly sixth. Aditya says Hamilton, Vettel, Leclerc. Astro Stevo says Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, Verstappen. Danny Rick in fifth, Gasly sixth, Vettel seventh. Jordi says Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. Judson says Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, Verstappen. Magath88 says Bottas, Leclerc, Hamilton. Annette says Hamilton will win. Louis Trishard says Leclerc, Bottas, Vettel, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Norris. That's a very surprising top, 7 there. Jungle Brothers says Lewis on pole, Leclerc, then Bottas, Ricciardo, Gasly, Vettel, Max, Norris, Albon, Perez. Don't know why people are going for Ricciardo so high up. He was actually pretty close to Vettel in qualifying compared to how it normally is between Ferrari and Renault, but I don't see how Renault can possibly compete. I honestly think he'll probably be lapped by, the two Ferraris in this race, more likely than Daniel Ricciardo actually beating them, but there you go. Find some others. Mysterious Chris says Bottas will have a mechanical failure. If he did and Hamilton won, then that is the World Championship completely dead. Because Hamilton would have a 55, 56 point lead, and that is way too big for a driver like Valtteri Bottas to overcome. Right, let's look at some more. Mysterious Chris goes Russell and Kubica 1 and 2. Let's find some more. Gina says Hamilton from Max, then Bottas, Leclerc, Vettel, Gasly. By the way, if you have had your comment missed, then make sure to put it in the chat and I'll make sure to read it out, because of course we want to get as many predictions from all of you in the chat who is watching, so we can make sure to include you all. Let me quickly move on to a different picture, but I just want to ask you, Nib, for the midfield, what do you think will happen there? And Daniel Ricciardo at the front of it, you'd have to say, based on qualifying, he's looking pretty good for a top 8 finish.
Oh, well, of course, I don't see any other reason why it wouldn't be Daniel Ricciardo. Of course, I'm joking. But I think he'll come under pressure from Norris, because Ricciardo, of course, very famous for having pretty bad starts usually. So I think he'll be under some pressure from Norris at the start and then certainly throughout the race. Because, of course, he did miss long runs on Friday. There's some running repairs on the Red Bull there, and there you go. Not sure what's going on there. I think it's on Pierre Gasly's car. Issue with the rear wing. But I think that, yes, because Ricciardo missed Friday with the engine issue, of course. So it'll be interesting to see how Renault's race pace are. So it'll be interesting. But I ultimately think that Ricciardo will probably finish 7th today.
Yeah, that is going to be Something of interest, I forgot about that. Ricardo did indeed miss his race runs. He could look at Hulkenberg for an example, but they are two completely different drivers. So yeah, that might be an issue, but we'll see. We'll see in the first 10, 15 laps what is going on. And yet the Red Bull having some kind of issue with the rear of their car.
Rear wing replacement on Gasly's car.
That's interesting. Must have. Maybe the DRS activator is broken, possibly, and they have to try and fix it. I don't know, but we'll have to see when the race starts in 10 minutes as to if that issue continues to happen. Right, let's read out some more predictions. So Kristen B says Leclerc to win from Lewis second, Valtteri third, then Sebastian fourth, and Max in fifth. Apex Auto Media says Leclerc to win from Hamilton, then Bottas, Verstappen, Vettel, Ricciardo, Gasly, Norris, Kimi, and Giovinazzi. Astro Stevo asks, can Gasly stay ahead of Vettel? He's on the right tyres. He's on the right tyres to do so, and he does have a good car, but I don't think he is necessarily quite good enough over the 52 laps to beat Vettel. And also, remember, if Vettel gets in the slipstream, he will be passed very, very quickly because he is in a Ferrari, which is very, very quick in a straight line. Air Force Boss says Hamilton to win from Bottas, Leclerc, Verstappen, fifth. I don't know. And then Ricciardo in sixth. Harith Zach Hamilton on Hamilton to win, not on pole. Leclerc second, and Verstappen, Bottas, Vettel, and Gasly. Right, let me find some others if I can. Ben and Aaron, Lewis, Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc, Vettel, Gasly. Christopher says Leclerc to win from Hamilton, then Max, Vettel, Bottas, and then says one can hope. And then a couple of people saying Robert Kubica to win. I just need to, before we get properly, into the formation lap and all that stuff, I just need to let you guys know about something. Two things. One, I need to let you guys know, if you are new, how we do watch-alongs on the channel. One, we don't show, live footage. We can't because of obvious copyright infringement, law and issues. So what we do is show as many pictures from the race as we can. I'll have a running order running along the bottom of the screen. In the top left, I'll have, the race has started when the race has started. But if you want to know exactly what is going on track, make sure to listen to what me and Nib are saying, because we will call out every, 2 or 3 laps what lap it is. And also, I'll read out some of the order at times as the race goes on. And what me and Nib are going to be doing basically is providing a radio commentary of what is going on at the race. So again, just make sure to listen to us and we'll let you know what lap it is and what the order is. And, if there's any overtakes happening, we'll let you guys know. And also, there is an issue that has arisen in the last day or so. Because my Skybox broke a couple of days ago, I've had to move to a different device to watch Formula 1. That has caused now my live feed of the race to be behind your feed probably by about, 45 seconds to a minute. So me and Nib hopefully will be synced up once the formation lap gets going. But also, if you guys want to be synced up with us, if you are watching the race, then just make sure to pause when the formation lap starts. And then I'll say, formation lap is go. And then you can press play and be in sync with us. But if you don't want to, that's fine. But just please bear in mind that I won't be absolutely up to date with you guys. There is no real alternative. This is the best I can do. If I can't watch Formula 1 on the device I'm currently watching it on, I won't be able to bring you the race or tell you what's happening at all. So this is the best I can do, I am afraid. But yeah, if you want to sync up, then, go ahead and do so. And we'll do so at the formation lap. But I'll quickly move on to this. This picture of the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. And I'll get some pictures possibly ready for just a moment, as we are now about 5 minutes away from the race starting, or the formation lap starting. But let me read out some more predictions from you guys. But yeah, I just need to let you guys know that. Very important information going into the race. Let me read out some more predictions if I can find any. Botty Gamer says Max to win, from Leclerc in second, Gasly third, and Lewis Hamilton will DNF. Interesting. Michael Arvin says Albon will be driver of the day. If he can finish any better than P9, he might be in there for a driver of the day. Red Lander 55 says Bottas victory and Hamilton will DNF. Yogesh says Ferrari first. Jordi makes a great point. New surface means no dirty side of the grid. There would have been rubber built up this weekend, but yeah, compared to, you know, the old surface, it wouldn't have been as bad. But let me find some more predictions if I can. Milos says Hamilton, Max, Bottas, Leclerc, Vettel, Ricciardo, Gasly. People asking for a lap counter. Again, at the moment, I can't actually do it. I actually tried to figure out a system for it, but it's not viable at the moment, and I do need quite a bit of time to work on it. Not just, you know, a week or two. It requires a bit more time for me to come up with a lap counter system that's easy to operate. It's a lot easier to operate the timing, of course, but the lap counter stuff is a bit hard to do. But trust me, guys, when I get enough time, say in the summer or even winter break, I will try and bring you a lap counter, so I won't have to read out, you know, what lap it is. But again, as long as you listen, then listen to our commentary, then you'll know what lap it is. So yeah, just make sure you're doing that. Wissam says hi, and then puts his predictions in. Says Max, and then says, hold on, Hamilton second, Leclerc third. As we are now moments away from the formation lap. And again, for everyone, and including for Nib as well, yeah, we'll sync up in just a moment, as formation lap will be underway, according to what I'm watching, in 2.5 minutes time. By the way, that rear wing, that was not Pierre Gasly's rear wing, that was Max Verstappen's rear wing, just to let you guys know. And I think, yeah, it's got something probably to do with the DRS activator, because that's what it looks like they were fiddling around with.
It was just an issue with the end plate.
Oh, okay, right. Well, hopefully that doesn't become an issue during the race, because it could definitely affect him. And let me actually get it on screen quickly. The Red Bull mechanics playing around with the rear wing, and then I'll get up the order, the running order, the starting order for your 2019 British Grand Prix. And here you go. Let me get it up. There you go. That's the Red Bull mechanics playing around with the rear wing. And now, let me just quickly get rid of the timer and get the text ready for you guys. So, formation lap is about to start in about a minute or so. So, it hasn't officially started, but I'm just putting it here so I don't have to do it right at the moment that it, you know, happens. But formation lap will be getting underway very, very soon. But yeah, there you go, with Verstappen's car. And here is the running order. So Bottas will be on pole from Hamilton, then Leclerc, Verstappen, Gasly, Vettel, Ricciardo, Norris, Albon, Hulkenberg, and then Giovinazzi in P11, Raikkonen P12, two Alphas on the 6th row of the grid, and then Sainz and Grosjean on the 7th row. On the 8th row is Perez and Magnussen, and then it's Kvyat and Stroll. And then, of course, the two Williamses at the very, very back of the grid. Yep, formation lap will be getting underway pretty soon. So we'll sync up in just a moment for you guys. And also, it is today a sellout at Silverstone. So there's about 350,000 people probably, or 300,000 people that's been touring in, during the weekend, but there's plenty of people there today. And trust me, when Silverstone gets packed, I've been there a year ago, not for the British Grand Prix, but when it gets packed, it is a great atmosphere. But here you go. Here is the crowd, expectant of a good race, and hopefully we do get one. But yet, formation lap will be underway in just a moment. And seeing some fans are waving around. So here come the tyre covers off, and just waiting for the formation lap to get going. And the formation lap is hopefully going to be going in a moment. The formation lap is hopefully, if the green lights come on eventually. And the formation lap is now go. So hopefully, Nib, you are synced up with me. But yeah, the formation lap has now started. So the race will be getting underway in a couple minutes' time. And there were, from what I could see, there was a couple runners outside of the top 10 on soft compound tyres, which is interesting. So we'll have to see who that is again. But there were, I think, most of the runners outside the top 10 were on the medium compound tyre. And if you start on the medium tyre, your chances of doing a one-stop race is a lot better, because tyre wear on the soft around this very fast and long track is sometimes a bit bad. As the two Mercedes now come through Luffield, and now will, as all the mechanics come back to the pit lane, and they'll now come into Copse Corner in just a moment.
There were three people who started on the soft compounded tyre. There was Grosjean, Magnussen, and Kvyat, who are outside the top 10. Everyone else outside the top 10 is on the medium compounded tyre.
That's interesting that Haas have gone for that tyre, considering how bad their tyre wear is, but they probably just decided that because their car is so bad when it comes to race pace, they might as well just go for it and see what happens. Can't blame them. Their car really is bad when it comes to the races, as now the front runners are coming to the hangar straight. So the race will be underway in probably a minute's time at most. As now the McLaren of Lando Norris comes onto the hangar straight, and here are the two Mercedes cars coming through into Stowe Corner. And the crowd waiting for the start of this race. And they'll be willing Lewis Hamilton on to try and win his home Grand Prix for the 6th time in his career. Let me just go back to this image. I'll bring up an image of the formation lap or the cars on track in just a moment. But yeah, race is about to get underway. Let me just get the text ready. The race hasn't officially started yet, but it is about to, as Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position as Charlie Whiting's young son. Justin is in the start light box to activate the sequence, I believe. Great that they're doing that. As now we get the racing point, and the two Williamses now coming onto the grid as Pierre Gasly's
car.
Pierre
car taking the line of last year's car through the corner.
Pierre Gasly, I was just about to say, Pierre Gasly's front brakes are on fire for some reason. But here come the lights. It's 3, it's 4, it's 5 lights at Silverstone. And it's go at Silverstone. Who will get the best start at the front? And it looks as though Valtteri Bottas has, from Lewis Hamilton as second, Leclerc third, and then Verstappen, Vettel, and Gasly is right in there with the two Renaults. Hamilton already positioning himself to try and get a run on Valtteri Bottas down to Brooklands. Tries to do the switchback, and he will now get a good run down to Brooklands. Valtteri must defend very hard coming down to Brooklands if he's going to maintain the lead. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Will he get into the lead? No, he won't. He'll position his car round the outside and gets a bit out of shape. And I believe Valtteri has just about, for now, held on to the lead of the British Grand Prix. Leclerc is third, then Verstappen, Vettel, Gasly. And then I believe it's Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault. It's
Oh, they're side by side.
Ricciardo and Norris side by side in Cops, and Ricciardo holds it round the outside. Norris, though, I think, has slightly got ahead. Has
No,
he?
they're still side by side.
They're still side by side, and
Oh
Norris,
my goodness!
Norris gets the move done into Maggots and Beckett. So Lando Norris is now up to P7 in the McLaren. It's Ricciardo, then Hulkenberg, and then Alexander Albon as we now come on to lap 2 in just a moment. So let me just quickly do some of the order. Vettel 5th as Bottas locks up at the final chicane and goes a bit wide. But yeah, Vettel is up to 5th. Gasly is 6th as we're on lap 2 now. Bottas leading from Hamilton. So it's Norris. No, go on.
Lewis Hamilton is barely behind Valtteri Bottas, and I wouldn't be surprised if, as we head down into Brooklands, he's putting Valtteri under more pressure. He's once again looking for that line through this corner to get that nice run down the Wellington Straight for Brooklands. He's right up the tail of Valtteri Bottas, heading down towards Brooklands. I don't think he's going to be close enough. No, he's not, but Hamilton's certainly applying lots of early pressure here to Valtteri Bottas.
Yep, no doubt about that. By the way, good start for Carlos Sainz. He's passed both Alfa Romeos. Good start for Racing Point for Perez and Stroll, 14th and 15th. Of course, Stroll climbing positions. There's no surprise about that. As Romain Grosjean comes in at the end of lap 1 for hard compound tyres.
And Kevin Magnussen is last.
And don't tell me that's contact between Grosjean and Magnussen. I think yes, it was.
It is.
The teammates have made contact on the run down to Brooklands. That's disastrous for them. But yes, Stroll is 15th. 16th is Danny Kvyat. And then it's Russell in 17th. And then Kubica at 18th. As Perez very close to the back of Antonio Giovinazzi, trying to feign to the inside, but Giovinazzi stays ahead for now, but goes slightly wide. Will Perez get him down into the chicane? No, he won't, as Valtteri Bottas on lap 3 does a new fastest lap of 1:31.6 for 4. But yeah, both Haas's are now at the very back of the grid. It doesn't rain, but it pours for them. Let me quickly, as Hamilton's still right up the back of Valtteri Bottas, and there's a car ahead of them. It's a Haas of Magnussen. Hamilton has DRS now. So Valtteri is coming under an absolute ton of pressure for the win of this Grand Prix. And we've still got 49 laps to go. But let me quickly, if I can, post a quick picture as it looks pretty close in the field at the moment. Verstappen as a lap, the two Mercedes lap Magnussen. Verstappen still looks pretty close to.
It's going to be closer here. Leclerc's been held up.
Oh yeah, Leclerc has been held up. By the way, here is when Norris went wheel to wheel for Ricciardo into Copse corner. And here comes Lewis Hamilton on Valtteri Bottas. Bottas out to defend. Hamilton goes around the outside, but Hamilton cannot do it. Great defense by Bottas, but Hamilton will now get a run down into the chicane. Will he risk it down the inside? I don't think he will, but you have to say, Lewis Hamilton, if he got past Bottas, he would rocket off into the distance as Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez, I've noticed, have passed as Lewis Hamilton does a new fastest lap.
It's a matter of time here.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Perez and Stroll are now ahead of the Alfa Giovinazzi as Bottas goes defensive again. And you have to say, Hamilton, once he gets past, as I just said, he will be off into the distance. As he now gets DRS on the run down to Brooklands. Valtteri defends the inside. Hamilton will go round the outside, but will we get the move done? No, he won't. Great defense by Bottas, but Hamilton does the switch back and gets the move done. Has he? No, Bottas is still up the inside. And he'll get a run.
Show us the action.
He'll get a run down to Copse corner now. Bottas slipstream down the inside. Are they going to risk it? Valtteri Bottas? Yes, they do. Great racing. This is the best we've seen from these two in a long time. Bottas retakes the lead of the British Grand Prix. Great move, Nib.
Brilliant racing there. I thought Bottas had just overcooked it and cost himself the position into Brooklands, but he managed to just get the inside line there for for Cop's corner. And all this is doing is allowing Charles Leclerc to catch up to the back as Hamilton runs a little bit wide there through Stows. Now we're getting a replay of Hamilton making the move around the outside through Brooklands.
Did the switch back.
Of course, Valtteri goes deep. And then, we've gone to another replay, must say. Pointless camera switch there. They thought that everything was done and sealed. Hamilton's in first place. Everyone's happy. But Valtteri said, He stayed up the inside there. And he did a fantastic job to go up the inside in Cop's corner.
Absolutely, and Valtteri now looks as though he's pulling a bit more ahead than he has done on the previous laps. By the way, lap 5 out of 52, the order is still as it says on the screen, except for Kvyat is now past Giovinazzi. So I don't know what's going on with Antonio, but he's lost 5 positions in 5 laps. So he must have some kind of issue with his car. But if Hamilton can maintain DRS behind Bottas, then he should be able to keep himself right there with Bottas. But also, if they keep racing, that's going to allow, as you said, Niv, that's going to allow Leclerc, Verstappen, and Vettel to remain close enough to be in the hunt. And yeah, even Pierre Gasly, who's only 9/10 behind Sebastian Vettel as they come on to hang a straight. And Bottas is now out of DRS, so that's great for Valtteri to stay ahead. Max has DRS on Leclerc. Gasly has DRS on Vettel. And Nib, I'll let you take us through the start.
Yeah, as we can see here, I think Vettel gets a absolute brilliant start, and so does Lando Norris up the inside there, Daniel Ricciardo. But great start there by Sebastian Vettel. As Max did have a little bit of a moment there through turn 1. Of course, Valtteri having to defend already as we're going to go on board with Lewis Hamilton for the start. Pretty good, pretty decent start. Bottas does the right thing, cuts across in front of him to stop his good start, and then has to defend. And now we're going to watch an onboard of Lando Norris had a very good start. Ricciardo actually had a pretty good start there, but just had nowhere to go really behind Pierre Gasly. So, and Norris was a big beneficiary from that, and trying to go around the outside of Gasly here. He actually does go down the inside, but I think Gasly is going to be... bit of contact there. Very lucky not to have damage. And now we're going to go on board with Carlos Sainz. Great start there, getting past Giovinazzi, and that was Albon on the... Kvyat on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, sorry. So great start there by Carlos Sainz, immediately getting past 2 cars. And here's Kevin Magnussen trying to go around the outside of Grosjean, and there's being contact there. Just needless from the 2 drivers. Their team's struggling enough as it is, and they've made needless contact on the first lap, and now both of their cars are last.
Absolutely, as we now come back from the replay, and Hamilton now back within on about to be lap 7, now back within about half a second of Valtteri Bottas. Verstappen half a second behind Leclerc, so we've got, and even Gasly is within DRS of Vettel, so we've got 3 big battles on track. Fastest lap for Lewis Hamilton at 1:30.9, and he should get DRS at the end. He should get DRS going down into Brooklands in just a moment. And yep, he's definitely close enough. And so is Verstappen to Leclerc. Ferrari look as though they are struggling on that soft compound tyre at the moment compared to the medium, as Hamilton will close up on DRS down to Brooklands by a couple tenths, but it won't be enough for a move to be made. But if he can close in, say within half a second at the start of a DRS straight, I think Hamilton could end up very soon having another go. So Norris is in P7. Ricciardo is only half a second behind him. Also, we've got some other changes to the order because Sergio Perez is flying. He's passed Kimi Räikkönen now and up to P12, and he is, well, he's about 2.5 seconds behind Carlos Sainz, but he's doing well up to P12. And yet Hamilton again, DRS on Bottas, closing right in. So is Verstappen on Leclerc, and we are going to see, I think, some racing again pretty soon.
And somehow we've forgotten the best part of the race so far, and that was Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo going side by side through cops and then through maggots. It's not an F1 game, lads.
That was very good. That was absolutely very good. And Ricciardo had to concede because Norris clearly had enough of the line to get through, as just going to show on screen. This is how Valtteri reclaimed the lead down the inside of Lewis Hamilton at Copse. That was a few laps ago, but Hamilton now closing back up. Verstappen is, as Valtteri does a new fastest lap on lap 8 of 30.9. But you have to say right now, Red Bull look definitely faster than Ferrari. There's no doubt about that. As here comes Kevin Magnussen to retire. So,
oh dear,
he is out of this race. And by the way, if you look at the timing gaps, Grosjean is almost a lap behind the Williamses, I think. So, yeah, not good at all for
hashtag Viking.
Not good for Haas at all, as Verstappen looks slightly closer this time to Leclerc. Yeah, he's definitely closer. Here comes Max Verstappen. Down into Stowe. DRS wide open. Does he have enough speed? Not quite. But he is definitely faster and is definitely being held up by Leclerc, who's surely struggling on those tyres. Gasly within DRS of Vettel also. And if you look at the order, it's pretty close. You've got Vettel and Gasly within DRS, as Bottas or Hamilton now does a new fastest lap. Norris and Ricciardo are within DRS, so is Hülkenberg and Albon. So is Perez and Raikkonen. So it's very close in the field at the moment, as Verstappen looks way faster than Leclerc. And for this race, I think it'd be great if Verstappen got past Charles Leclerc, because I think Verstappen could easily get after the two Mercedes cars ahead. As Verstappen on lap 9 comes down into Brooklands, but again DRS open, but not close enough.
You can see that Leclerc's struggling with these rear already. You could see through turn 3 and 4 that the rear end's just sliding about, whereas Max is able to drive the car through the corners. Although, contrary to what I've just been saying, Max lost time to Leclerc in the third sector, which is, of course, the part of the track where the tyres is going to cop it the most. Certainly in those slow speed corners, so it's where you have the least amount of grip. But through here, you can see the amount of extra speed that Max is able to take through maggots. I think looking back, we might have to criticise Ferrari's decision to start on the soft tyre here.
Yeah, we might have to, because it's not working at the moment. Hamilton, by the way, now within 0.3 of Bottas. We probably should see that right now, Mr. Director, but we're not. There's Ricciardo within DRS of Norris. He ain't going anywhere, is Daniel Ricciardo. And Hülkenberg behind is about 2 seconds behind this pair. So this will be a race-long battle. But right now, again, we should be seeing Bottas and Hamilton, because they're within half a second of each other on the start now, lap 10. And as usual, FOM doesn't actually know what to watch. Here we go. In through turn 4, Hamilton loses.
Bottas has a good exit.
Yeah, Bottas has got a good exit. But Hamilton looks as though he's about a couple tenths closer on this lap than he was the previous lap. So maybe down the Hangar Straight in a moment he'll be able to have a go, because he's definitely closer than he was a couple laps ago, as Gasly is actually closing in on Vettel. He's now within about half a second, I think, or 0.6 of Vettel, as Hamilton now comes through Copse with Valtteri Bottas. And yeah, Lewis definitely looking closer this time, 0.6 of a second behind. And if he can get a good enough run through the Maggots-Beckett's complex, he should be able to get a run on Bottas into Stowe, but no, he's not close enough this time. Verstappen, though, close behind Leclerc, about half a second. Can Verstappen have a go? Let's see, he gets in the slipstream. Does Max Verstappen go for it? Oh! He thought about it, and Leclerc cut him off. And now Max is right in the slipstream of Charles Leclerc. Will he go down the inside? No, Leclerc defends the inside line. And Verstappen, oh, so close to the rear. Couldn't get any closer to the rear end of that Ferrari. As Valtteri Bottas on lap 11 does a new fastest lap of 1:30.7. But Max is so close to getting past that Ferrari. And now Vettel, because Leclerc is going slow, Vettel is now closing. And Verstappen, you have to say, yeah, definitely the closest he's been. Those soft tyres have had enough. And look at this, Max round the outside. Oh, that could have been contact. And now Vettel will get a run. Sebastian Vettel opens the DRS. Slipstream. And now Goes round the outside. No, down the inside now. Max
What
cuts
is
him
Vettel
off
doing?
again. Vettel all over the place, trying to get past Max Verstappen. This is great stuff. Both Ferrari and Red Bull going head to head. Gasly's still right in there in the background, and he looks like he's getting a run now on Sebastian Vettel, but not enough to get him into Cop's corner, I think. But this is great stuff. Ferrari, Red Bull, all within DRS, all fighting for a podium position as the two Mercedes are pulling away by about half a second a lap out front, as Hamilton is still within DRS of Valtteri Bottas. So there's fights all over the place. Ricciardo is still fighting with Norris, same with Albon and Hülkenberg, as Romain Grosjean has come back into the pits. That might be to retire. But yet Ferrari and Red Bull very close for P3. And the more that Charles Leclerc holds up Max Verstappen, that allows Bottas and Hamilton to get into a 1-2 position and possibly run away with this Grand Prix. As Max,
very close.
He is, absolutely. Would he go down the inside? He does! Gasly's passed Vettel down the inside, but he's gone wide. Can Vettel get him back? But I think Gasly will have DRS, because I think the detection zone is before he passed. Yes, he does. They both have DRS, because Vettel was in the DRS of Verstappen. Vettel going to go round the outside of Gasly. Gasly holds the inside line, and Gasly gets it done. He passes Sebastian Vettel. Who would have thought that after Austria? Gasly passing Vettel for position. Look at him. He's pulling away already. What a great move that was, Nib.
Kudos, Pierre Gasly. I noticed through turn 1, he was closing as he sends it up the inside. Lovely, lovely stuff. Just gets the car stopped. And that was, and then easily defended down the straight. So well done to Pierre Gasly there. He's driven very well so far this race. He's had a good weekend, and let's hope that this can continue for Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, let's hope it can. I'll change the order in just a moment for that. But let me quickly get this picture on the screen. But
As
go on.
Verstappen's close. As Verstappen, well, I thought Verstappen was close, but he wasn't quite close enough, as Gasly has gone into the pit lane now.
That's interesting. Maybe they're going to try and undercut past Leclerc. That might work, because the undercut at Silverstone is quite powerful, especially because of those fast corners. And it comes, he's going onto the hard compound. So yeah, Pierre Gasly is going to the end of the race, I think. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo as well in the pit lane. So, and Albon has passed Hülkenberg somewhere. So Alexander Albon is up to a net P9. So yeah, Gasly in the pits with Ricciardo's Albon out to P7. Hülkenberg.
Surely Hülkenberg made some sort of mistake there, because he was only a couple seconds behind Ricciardo.
He must have made a mistake, but yeah, he's now about 7/10 behind Albon. So Hülkenberg 8th, and then it's Sainz in 9th. Gasly has got a bit of clean air. He's got about 2.5 seconds of clean air in front of him. And then it's up to, and then P11 right now is Sergio Perez. And then it's Kimi Raikkonen in P12 as Verstappen closes in again on Leclerc, but he's not close enough. I think Leclerc's going to pit. And he does. Charles Leclerc comes into the pit lane. Just trying to...
So does Verstappen, as expected.
They're right with each other as well. Stroll is 13th, and we've got Giovinazzi in 14th. Ricciardo has come out in nice clean air in P15. So that's good for him, as Norris is in the pits as well. Leclerc putting on the medium compound tyre, and so is Max Verstappen.
A little bit slow. Ferrari was slow. Verstappen's out. Ahead.
He is. Verstappen has got ahead, but where will Gasly be in the Red Bull as Verstappen gets ahead of Charles Leclerc, and Verstappen, and they get ahead of Carlos Sainz, only just, but Leclerc will get a run on Verstappen. Oh, he was thinking about going for a move. Verstappen's gone wide though, and Leclerc will just come right back up the inside. Great racing. And now Leclerc has DRS. Verstappen, they're going to try and go round the outside, down into Brooklands. God, they're racing hard, and Leclerc gets it done. And by the way, Ricciardo has undercut past Lando Norris, only just. Yeah, they're only 2/10 apart, but Leclerc ahead of Verstappen. Wow, absolutely great racing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just think that might be the first time in quite some time that I've seen Max Verstappen forced into a mistake. Bravo, Charles Leclerc.
Absolutely. So Leclerc P4 now. Hold on, I just need to redo the order because it's changing around massively. So by the way, we're on lap 15. Lap 15 out of 52. Bottas is still leading from Hamilton as Verstappen will come back at Leclerc. And that would have damaged his pride for sure. And now he'll want to get him back. So Verstappen, and here's a replay of how Verstappen got past Leclerc initially. So basically, they did a faster pit
slow coming off
for Ferrari, yeah. And then Verstappen just about beat him. But then Leclerc banged to the inside. Don't think Leclerc was actually going to go for an overtake, but Verstappen made a mistake, as he said, and then defended very well. The inside going down into Brooklands. But he's still very, very close. And Ricciardo...
Great racing so far.
This has been a great, great race, as Ricciardo is now over a second ahead of Norris. So Ricciardo has got the net P7. Gasly is P7 at the moment because Sainz hasn't pitted. And also neither has Sebastian Vettel, who is really struggling compared to the Mercedes cars. He's about second a lap off the pace, really. Perez is up to 8th because he hasn't pitted. So is Raikkonen. And then, as Verstappen very close to Leclerc now, Giovinazzi is P10. Ricciardo, as Verstappen very close. Ricciardo is in P11 at the moment, with Norris in as Valtteri Bottas does another fastest lap, I believe. Here comes Max Verstappen on hanger straight. Can he get a move done? Down into Stowe corner. Is he close enough? I think he is not close enough because he doesn't quite have enough straight line speed. Impressively, George Russell is 13th, but that's because he hasn't pitted. Albon is in 14th and in the net P9 right now. Hulkenberg is in the net P10, but is in right now P15 as Albon has just passed Russell. I'll update that in a moment. And then who else have got? Stroll has pitted. Oh, Verstappen thinking I'll move down the inside. Leclerc blocked him off. And now we'll get a great run through turn 4, surely. Gets a bit skittish on the exit, but we'll get a good run with DRS down to Brooklands. I'm not sure Max has enough speed to get past Leclerc. Who knows, though? Leclerc defends the inside and then kind of comes back to the racing line, but that was just about okay. But Kubica is 16th. Great racing. These two are destined to race like this for the entire race, it seems. By the way, indeed, both Haas's are out of the race in 19th and 20th. So that's why they're back there. Albon is up to 13th. By the way, we're on lap 16 out of 52. Bottas and Hamilton have not pitted yet. Saying that, Bottas has just come into the pit lane. So let's see where he comes out. Hopefully the pit stop for him goes well. And it does, and he goes onto a set of medium tyres, I believe, and Verstappen again getting very close to Leclerc.
Yeah, most people have gone onto the mediums. I think the only two drivers that have gone onto the mediums that have pitted, who haven't gone onto the mediums that have pitted are Gasly and Hulkenberg.
Yeah, and their intention is clearly to go to the very end of the Grand Prix. As Verstappen's still very close. And by the way, Valtteri Bottas, after that pit stop, is now 10 seconds clear of Leclerc and Verstappen because they're fighting so much for position. These two, great racing, but they're wasting a lot of time on track. Max is close, though, this time. Down on the straight, down to Brooklands. DRS wide open. Leclerc will have to defend again. All very close again. Max Verstappen, will he go round the outside? No, he does not. And gets very close to the rear end of the Ferrari. This is superb defence by Leclerc. I criticised him for his defensive job in Austria, but this has completely destroyed that criticism. This is great. He's clearly not faster than Verstappen, but somehow keeping him behind for this long. Verstappen clearly faster than Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, as Bottas came out, by the way, in P3, and Hamilton has just done a fastest lap. So hammer time up front for Lewis Hamilton. As Verstappen, he's closing, but he's not quite close enough. Leclerc, though, kind of defends the inside line. And Verstappen will get a run down into the final chicane, but he's, again, not close enough. If that Red Bull had more straight line speed, he would have been past him a long, long time ago. As Lewis Hamilton on lap 18 does a new fastest lap of 1:30.2, which is a mega lap compared to what we've seen. And Verstappen again, very close. Would he go round the outside? No, ducks to the outside. And Norris and Howard under investigation for some reason. Verstappen, the pit lane incident for some reason. Verstappen, though, again, very, very close. As Kimi Raikkonen has come into the pits. And here comes Verstappen again. Leclerc defends the inside. Verstappen round the outside. Will he do it? No! Oh, this is great. How many times have they been side by side? I've never seen this before. Side by side action for this long. It just keeps getting better. And Verstappen throwing out the rear. His frustration is very, very clear to see. As he now, will he go round the outside at Cops? No, he won't. Oh, this is great, Nib. This is absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
It is absolutely brilliant as Max is trying to go around the outside of the Maggots. Look how close he is through Beckett's. I think surely he is close enough to Charles Leclerc here. Let's see how he exit out of Chapel is. It isn't the greatest exit, but he's still close enough to Charles Leclerc. Leclerc swerving all over the track. Verstappen is closing. He's closing. He goes down the inside just about. But Leclerc streams round the outside once again. Oh my days. How did Verstappen get past there? But he's close again. No, Leclerc once again goes defensive, and these two are just driving in go-karts around this track. They don't care about their tyres. They are going hammer and tong, and they don't care. As we're going to show a replay now of them going down the hangar straight. Leclerc just leaves the car's width. That's fine. Down the inside and then goes clean around the outside. Great job once again by Charles Leclerc. Oh, this is absolutely enthralling so far. This Grand Prix has been spectacular, and I'm sure that is probably Verstappen complaining on the team radio, as most racing drivers would. But wow, what is more race controls? No further action for Norris and Albon. Not entirely sure what that was about in the pit lane, but it's interesting to note that Sebastian Vettel is being used as Kimi Raikkonen in this race.
That is rather interesting indeed. But I have to say, this is one of the best battles on track I've ever seen. They've been side by side basically every lap for the last 10 laps. It's incredible how they're able to do this. This is Formula One at its absolute finest as Verstappen slightly loses the rear end. I'm just trying to update the order to what it is because Sergio Perez has come into the pit lane. Here comes Verstappen again. He won't go to the inside because he knows Leclerc has that covered. But Perez has come out in P13. By the way, Danny Kvyat has passed Kimi Raikkonen somewhere on track. And this battle is actually taking us away from the battle for the lead, which is going on out there. Hamilton is still out on track on lap 20, setting times to try and overcut Bottas, and Verstappen into turn 3, holds the outside to do an undercut. Yellow flag in sector 3 for some reason. It is Antonio Giovinazzi, who was in P9.
Right rear puncture.
Right rear puncture, but here comes Max Verstappen. Again, DRS on Leclerc. Will he get the move done? No, he will not. He's not close enough. But let me try, if I can, and get a picture of what is going on so you guys can see. But yeah, that looks like a safety car. That is going to throw everything up in the air because now Hamilton and Vettel are still on track. So let's see what happens here. So,
well, Hamilton will lead the British Grand Prix.
You absolutely will, and that's a scary one when you touch the brakes and your rear tire goes like that. And yeah, it's a right rear deflation. And here comes Lewis Hamilton, safety car out on now lap 21 out of 52. And comes into the pits. What tyres will he put on? Hard compound tyres. That's different to Bottas, I believe. I think Valtteri went on the mediums. But here comes
Well,
Hamilton.
yeah, indeed.
And Ferrari are going to pit Vettel, of course. That's the absolutely understandable thing to do. And Hamilton is now officially the leader of the British Grand Prix of 2019. Vettel is pitted, so that puts Valtteri...
The Kimi strategy has worked.
It absolutely has. This should get him out to P3. Yes, it will. And
as Verstappen's pitted.
Yeah, he's pitted. So Bottas is second, and Vettel is now third. How incredible is that?
I'm surprised that more drivers haven't pitted to go onto the hard tyre now, because if you pit to go on the hard tyre, you can go to the end of the race. So I think Charles Leclerc, I think Max had to avoid a car there, McLaren going into the pit lane.
Science.
Yeah, I think we might see a replay of that, but I think that Leclerc not coming into the pit lane as well as Bottas to put on the hard tyre might cost them in the end.
It might do. We've got Daniel Ricciardo in the pits again. So Ricciardo pits. I'll update the order, guys, as soon as everyone has done their stuff. I'm just trying to get a picture on the screen of what has been going on, so I can show you guys. So here is the battling between Verstappen and Leclerc. Great racing. Exactly what we want to see. But yeah, we're on lap 21 out of 52. And we are now under a safety car. So it's Hamilton from Bottas. Vettel third. Leclerc fourth. Gasly fifth. I think Gasly will probably move out of Verstappen's way at the end of the safety car, because he'll be very quick. Carlos Sainz has pitted and come out P7. That's great for him. And Norris is P8. So looking great for McLaren. So Sainz 7th, Norris in 8th. Alexander Albon is in 9th. Having a good race. He's Alexander Albon. And then Hulkenberg is in P10. Daniel Ricciardo, by the way, went onto the hard compound tyre. The only drivers on mediums are Bottas, Leclerc, Norris, Albon, Kvyat, and Russell. That'll make things very interesting at the restart of the race with Bottas and Hamilton, because Bottas is on the softer compounded tyre, so he should be faster. Ricciardo has come out in P11 on the hard compounders. Here comes... Why are they pitting him now? Why are they pitting Charles Leclerc now? Why didn't they pit him when... What are they doing?
Exactly what I said on the last lap.
I don't even understand what they've done.
Position to Verstappen
and Gasly.
And if they'd pitted the lap before, well, they're always going to lose that to Gasly, because Gasly wouldn't have to pit to put on the hard tyres. But if they'd pitted Leclerc the lap before, he wouldn't have been behind Verstappen. And now, after putting up such a great and utterly world-class defensive display there, he's lost his position to Verstappen because Ferrari are incapable.
He's lost P3 because Vettel took advantage of the safety car and then they pitted him right then. So that is hard luck. Who is this? It's Danny Kvyat going on to the hard compound tyres. Perez is P12. Raikkonen is P13. You've got Stroll in P14. And then Danny Kvyat is P15. And then Williams are 16th and 17th with Russell and Kubica respectively. And out of this race, Antonio Giovinazzi, Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. 3 Ferrari powered cars, but it has nothing to do, of course, with the power units. That is your current order on lap 22 out of 52, as the safety car is still out on track. And I think the safety car will probably come in at the end of lap 23, because I think we've had the car cleared away in time.
I tell you what, though, Valtteri Bottas will be a massive loser at this rate, because he is on the medium compound of tyres, so he will have to pit again in this race.
Indeed, he started on the medium, so Valtteri's got to pit again, so he's got to somehow pass Hamilton and run off into the distance and build a pit stop gap. Who else is on the medium out of the top? Vettel is on hard.
Everyone else is on the hard.
In the top 6, yeah. So Valtteri effectively is off the podium. They didn't know a safety car was going to come out, but there you go. Maybe other drivers will do a 2-stop though. We'll have to see, because it has surprised us so far what has happened. And yeah, safety car in at the end of this lap. The one positive, I guess, for Charles Leclerc is that he will be able to be right up behind Max Verstappen and get a run on Verstappen. But after that, he'll be off into the distance. Will Max, and Gasly will probably let Max through to go after a podium, if not the race win. You never know. Here is when Antonio Giovinazzi slid out of the race. So we are now on lap 23 out of 52, and we're now just waiting for the safety car to come back in to the pits. Hamilton looking very keen to get on with this. It would be interesting if Bottas gets held up behind Hamilton, because maybe if Hamilton isn't stopping again, maybe they'll tell Lewis to let Valtteri through to build a gap to the others to try and get a 1-2. But I don't think Lewis will be too keen on that idea, but we'll see. Yeah, safety car is now coming into the pits, I think. Just about now. And Lewis Hamilton will now let it go. So Lewis Hamilton gets underway. Bottas been left napping a bit as Verstappen all over the back of Pierre Gasly. So here we go. We're underway again. And
Verstappen
locking the wheel there.
His tie there.
Yeah, he has a bit, as Leclerc now will get a bit of a run. The McLaren, look at the McLaren there of Carlos Sainz on the back of Charles Leclerc. Oh, look at that. Albon down the inside of Norris, possibly at turn 1. Oh, great racing between Albon and Norris.
Ricardo.
And there is Hulkenberg and then Ricardo. And then you got racing in the background, Perez. Oh no, Stroll and Raikkonen. Albon has got past Norris. No, he hasn't. He's now behind him. Hulkenberg now going for the inside on Albon. Albon holds it though for now as Verstappen all over the back of Gasly, and I think Red Bull need to get team orders out as Albon
Ricardo
has lost.
On the inside.
Perez! Oh!
Perez.
Perez hit. Was it Ricardo or Hulkenberg? I don't know. It was Hulkenberg. Perez has broke his front wing, so his race is done with. As Verstappen trying to get past Gasly's down. Oh, look at Leclerc round the outside. Oh, he almost got it.
Too.
He almost went round the outside at Cops. Perez is now down to the back. But Ricardo has got past Hulkenberg, so thankfully for him, he isn't involved in that. But great racing again between Verstappen and Charles Leclerc as the Mercedes run off into the distance.
Blimey.
And
2 seconds already.
Yeah, that is a massive gap to have. Because of that contact of Perez and Hulkenberg, Kimi Raikkonen now into P11.
Here comes Leclerc on Verstappen. He's going to try and go
outside.
around the outside.
Has he done it? What a move. Forces him off the track and keeps going off the track, and they're off the track again.
And somehow Verstappen's got past.
Leclerc in the slipstream. Will he go round the outside? No, he doesn't. Look at Carlos Sainz right in there. Oh my God, this is the best battle I think I've ever seen. What a battle. As Lewis Hamilton does a new lap record of 29.9 on that first flying lap under the safety car. What a lap that was for Hamilton.
And he's made sure he's out of DRS.
Absolutely.
Which is very important.
And who's that? Ricardo and Albon. Ricardo round the outside. Will he get the move done? Off the track. Oh, he'll have to give that back, I think. I think he might have to give that back.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be able to keep that.
He was kind of forced off, but yeah, he should give that back. I agree.
And Albon, by the way, on the not the soft, the medium compound tyre. So Albon should be, and that's probably why he is pretty quick at the restart of this race, as Ricciardo then P9. I'll update that in a moment. We're on lap 25 out of 52. Russell is 15th. Kubica is 16th. And Perez has gone right to the back of the field that is still running. Leclerc now way off the back of Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz is holding tabs with Charles Leclerc, which is interesting. But Ricciardo on fresher tyres is up to P9 in this Grand Prix, and Albon down to P10, but Albon is still looking good for a points finish. That's Stroll and Hülkenberg in the background with Kvyat through the exit, the final corner. And he continues to run in the slipstream. What a great race this has been. Constant battling, and Stroll should get a good DRS run down to Brooklands. The Racing Point, of course, is faster in a straight line than the Renault. And here he comes, Stroll. Will he get the move done? And no, he's not close enough to Nico Hülkenberg. But at the front, in the front six positions, the only close battle is the two Red Bulls, Gasly and Verstappen. And if I was Red Bull again, I'd get Gasly to let Max through, because I think Max can go after Vettel and get a podium finish, and probably even second place because of Valtteri Bottas having to pit again. As Stroll still within, and here is Max Verstappen within DRS of his teammate Gasly. And I'll be honest, I don't know why they're wasting time here, because Verstappen clearly being held up by Gasly. As we've got Sainz.
Strategy.
Yep, they are. That is correct. But yellow flag in sector 2. Sainz and Norris were pretty close at that time. Who's had an incident? I don't know. But just looking to see.
Might be picking up some debris.
Possibly.
At Brooklands.
Possibly. As
Lewis, of course, the South Sector 2.
As a new lap record on lap 27 out of 52, Valtteri Bottas 1:29.9. And here's a replay of Perez. Just took too much speed into the corner and went straight to the side of Hülkenberg's car. I'm surprised Hülkenberg doesn't have any flat tyre or anything, because that was a bit of a hard hit on the rear end. So that's what happened. That's why Leclerc got so close, because Verstappen ran wide in the dirty air of his teammate, and then Leclerc somehow tried to go around the outside. This, though, was great. Leclerc round the outside at the final two proper corners, banged wheels. That's good hard racing. Nothing wrong with that. And Leclerc had every right to put his car there. He had enough of his car there to go for a move, and then Max held it around the outside. But Verstappen again, very close to teammate Gasly, about half a second behind. And yep, here you go. Gasly letting him through, I believe. So, Verstappen.
That's absolutely.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case there. So Verstappen up to P4, and now we can go hunting after former Red Bull driver Sebastian Vettel, as Lewis Hamilton does a new fastest lap on lap 28, a 1:29.6. You have to say, Lewis Hamilton has this win pretty much nailed, because Bottas has to pit again and the rest are simply not quick enough. As Gasly has now dropped back massively, but this is another battle to look out for. The two McLarens and Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault, and also kind of Alexander Albon in the Toro Rosso. So this is another battle to watch out for. But
in the long run, it's going to be Ricciardo and Sainz, because Ricciardo and Sainz are on the hard tyre, whereas Norris and Albon are on the medium. So in the long run, it will certainly be Ricciardo and Sainz.
Yeah, it should be. And also, they pitted later for their tyres as well, as Charles Leclerc is now within DRS of Gasly. So he should be possibly going for Gasly pretty soon. Hopefully Gasly, after letting Verstappen through, which he basically did, hopefully can get up to speed pretty quickly to avoid getting passed by the Ferrari, which is very, very quick in a straight line, of course. Leclerc about 8 tenths behind, but that's not close enough for a move. And in the background, the two McLarens, Ricciardo and Albon, looking pretty close. Looking at other fights, Stroll and Kvyat are kind of close together as well for 13th. There's Lewis Hamilton does another new fastest lap, a 1:29.5. And And here comes Leclerc, and yet he is definitely within the slipstream and should be within DRS of Pierre Gasly. And interesting to note that the two Mercedes cars have been about a second a lap faster than anyone else, at least, since the restart of the Grand Prix. That is just how quick they were, as now Gasly will come under threat from Charles Leclerc, who I have to say I do really feel sorry for, because he's been so good this weekend and put up with such a good defence against Max Verstappen. He doesn't deserve to be fighting for P5. He should be up there with Vettel and Verstappen. Long way to go though. We're only just over half distance, lap 29. He can still get in there, but definitely Ferrari, another blunder when it came to when they pit their cars. But let me quickly put another picture on the screen for you guys as Leclerc now closing in on Gasly. He should be going for a move pretty soon. Charles Leclerc about half a second behind. And here he comes. So down to Stowe. He has the speed in a straight line, but does he have the grip to get the move done? And goes to the inside. Gasly, though, nice defending. Saw it coming.
Wasn't close enough there, was Leclerc.
Absolutely. And by the way, Lewis Hamilton is on an absolute charge at the front. Another new fastest lap at the front. And
It's turned into the French Grand Prix again.
It has a new lap record, a 1:29.1. That is a mega lap around this Silverstone layout. Yeah, let me quickly post a picture of the Leclerc Verstappen racing again after the safety car. By the way, Ricciardo now half a second behind Norris, and Norris is without DRS from his teammate. So Norris now is going to try and defend his position very hard from Ricciardo, who is quite close behind. They're racing for what is P8, and they're coming through Luffield now. Verstappen, by the way, is definitely faster than Vettel, because he's now only just over a second behind Vettel. So that will be another battle to look out for in just a moment. And I think what they're doing with Valtteri Bottas is they're trying to build a gap to possibly the midfield runners, so he can come out in P6 and go for it, probably on the soft compound tyre or something at the end. As Ricciardo within DRS and Norris. Norris does not have DRS, but Ricciardo not close enough. But Max Verstappen should be getting some DRS assistance in a couple laps' time, given how he's closing in on Sebastian Vettel, who is definitely having a better race today than he had qualifying. As Ricciardo looks pretty close as they come through turn one. And yeah, Ricciardo, if he gets a sniff down into a braking zone, I think Ricciardo is going to get this move done for sure. As they come through turn four, and Ricciardo, you can see, has better grip than Norris. He's probably today in a slightly faster car and also has better tyres at this point of the Grand Prix. Ricciardo feigns to the inside, brake dust coming off the Renault, which is a bit surprising because this is not a big braking track, but there you go. But he's very close in Luffield to the back of Norris. Should be able now to follow through Copse, as also other racing going on. Still Leclerc right behind Gasly. Hulkenberg is within DRS also of Kimi Räikkönen for P11, so that's another battle to look out for. As Ricciardo looks closer on this lap through Maggots and Beckett than he did the lap before. And yeah, he's definitely closer. Through. And Ricciardo now within DRS. Does he have enough speed? I don't think he does. No. He's about a couple tenths too far behind, but he's very close to getting past that McLaren as he now comes into that final chicane. By the way, now lap 32 out of 52. Hamilton leading from Bottas, Vettel, Verstappen, Gasly, Leclerc, Sainz, Norris, Ricciardo, Albon, Raikkonen, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Kvyat, Russell, Kubica, Perez. And your retirements are Giovinazzi, Grosjean, and Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, Ricciardo is close, but not quite close enough, given his straight line speed with the car he has. As Leclerc had a go then on Gasly. Got close, but not close enough. So Leclerc again closing up to Pierre, who is doing a great job for his teammate to hold up Charles Leclerc. And this is exactly what Red Bull would have wanted from Pierre Gasly in 2019, to help out the number one and to help out the team, as well as Leclerc comes through Maggots and Beckett, and he should, if he stays this close, possibly have a go into Stowe. I think he's too far behind. Yep, he is. Surely too far behind he is. So Leclerc still in P6, but the racing for now has calmed down, but there are still fights going on out there. Norris and Ricciardo, now Albon, Hulkenberg and Raikkonen, and Leclerc tried a Vettel on Bottas from last year, and it didn't quite work out because Gasly was not going to be put off by that. And yeah, he tried to put Gasly off, but Gasly was not going to be put off. And we are still at the same area. And yeah, big battle going on for the final point between Albon, Raikkonen and Hulkenberg. They are all within DRS of each other, as Verstappen still slowly but surely closing in on Sebastian Vettel. But Nib, for the podium, it looks as though, at the moment, you'd have to say, because Valtteri has to pit again, it looks as though it's going to be Verstappen and Vettel, wouldn't you say?
Who knows? We've seen, certainly since the safety car restart, that the Mercedes is ridiculously quick. So who knows if Bottas were to pit, put on soft tyres. Does he have new soft tyres,
I
or
don't
put on
think
new
so.
mediums, or whatever new set of tyres available? Who knows? He could come absolutely flying through the field. So I think one of Vettel or Verstappen will be on the podium. I think it's probably going to be Verstappen, as Leclerc is closing in on Gasly. Is he going to make a move? No, he doesn't quite. He's not quite close enough into Stowe, and he won't make a move here into the final chicane. But yeah, I think at the moment you'd probably have to say it's going to be at least Verstappen on the podium. I'm not sure about Bottas though. Not sure. Don't count him out yet.
Absolutely not. As Leclerc again still following close to Gasly. By the way, Max Verstappen looks as though he's just about within a second of Vettel. So I think Verstappen will now start to get DRS. Oh no, it's just outside of it. So, and now he gets inside of it. So maybe he does have DRS, does Verstappen? And yeah, he does. Verstappen has DRS on Vettel now. So now that's the next battle to look out for. Max Verstappen versus Sebastian Vettel for P3, as Leclerc so close to Gasly, but he just cannot get past, which is surprising because Leclerc has the straight line speed and is clearly faster, but he just cannot get close enough when it matters. Kimi Raikkonen, by the way, right up behind Albon for that final point. Kimi desperate for a point. And yet Verstappen now within DRS of Vettel for sure, going down the hangar straight. So now, again, it's Ferrari versus Red Bull, but in a bit of a different way. So it's Vettel coming under threat from Verstappen, with Gasly under threat from Charles Leclerc, as Lewis Hamilton on lap 35. There's a 1:29.1. We only have 17 laps to go. This race has flown by compared to other races. Been a great Grand Prix. It really has, and the Verstappen-Leclerc battles have been, quite frankly, awesome. But again, 17 to go, still plenty of time for even more great battles on track, as we've still got some good battles out there for P8 and for the final point and for P5 and for the final podium position. And once Valtteri Bottas comes into the pits and puts on a new set of tyres, that will be the next battle to look out for, as Leclerc again closes in on Gasly, but he's not close enough when it matters out of the exit of the corners to get a proper run. Oh, close. Very, very close. Lucky to not get his front wing knocked off slightly there, but he'll now get a good run on the old pit straight, going down to Copse. And He just needs to be about 3 to 4 tenths of a second behind once the DRS zone gets, starting, and then he can start making a move. But he's struggling to do that as Verstappen is continuing to close on Vettel, and Leclerc again is not close enough because he didn't get the exit right on the previous corner. But I'm just looking at the order, mine to the current one on lap 36, and there's the order is no different. As Verstappen, you can see on the TV, now within a second of Vettel. Same with Leclerc and Gasly. Leclerc is desperate to get P5.
Closer than he has been.
Yep, he is. And brakes right on the outside. No way, surely not around the outside. Oh, what a move! Round the outside of 3 into 4. What an overtake that was! As Lando Norris is pitted, by the way, which is a bit weird, but he's pitted. Gasly now gets the slipstream.
Because he's on the medium.
Down to Brooklands. And that's true of Norris, but remember, he doesn't have to pit again in terms of the tyres he's used, because he did start soft tyres, but there you go.
Couldn't go to the end on those.
Leclerc up to P5. What an overtake that was. Right round the outside of 3 and into 4. I wouldn't even dream of making that overtake. Let's have another look. So he gets a great run.
That is an F1 game overtake.
Just sails around the outside like he's lapping a car. What an overtake. And, wow. He hasn't necessarily had the pace today to be right on the podium. And talking of that, Verstappen and Vettel now right with each other. And Vettel now going to fight for his life against Max Verstappen. But as Valtteri Bottas does the fastest lap. But even though he hasn't had the fastest car today, Leclerc has been pretty great in his own driving. And yet, here we go. Verstappen on Vettel. Well, I need to quickly update the order. So Daniel Ricciardo is now up to P8, and he will probably finish there unless he gets up to Carlos Sainz. Albon is P9. He's also on the medium. Be interesting to see if he pits. And you've got Kimi Räikkönen now in the points. Norris has come out P14 and miles behind the point, so I think Norris is out of it. And yeah,
he's not
true.
Close.
Yeah, he's not close enough. Not enough of a run down that part of the circuit. Räikkönen is now P10 because of Norris's pit stop. Hulkenberg is up to P11. P12 is Lance Stroll. Lance is driving all right today. He's not far off points, about 2 seconds. So if he can find some more speed, he might get a point. Danny Kvyat is P13, and yeah, as I said, Lando Norris P14, but here we go. Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel.
So much quicker.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Lap 37 out of 52. Hanger straight. Vettel defends the inside. Max Verstappen goes right round the outside. Can he get the move done? Right round the outside, and yes, Max gets it done, but Vettel will come back. Down the inside. Oh, what a massive accident. Vettel takes out Max Verstappen, and surely they're both out of the race because Verstappen would have had a massive hit. Leclerc's now in 3rd place. And Verstappen, I think, has got to be out of the race. That was a massive hit on the rear end.
Yeah, he's got a broken suspension.
Yeah, he's done. Again, Verstappen having it took away from him. What a disaster there. Vettel, I think, got just way too aggressive. And he's still going, but that car must... And Vettel's car's broke. Vettel's got a problem. I don't know what. Broken front wing, maybe? I don't know. But Vettel is going very, very slow. But there you go. And here we go, replay. So Max Verstappen, round the outside at Stowe, gets the move done, but goes slightly wider than he would have wanted to. That gives Sebastian Vettel a good run down into the final chicane. And simply, do you know what Vettel did? He kind of did a similar thing to Ricciardo that time in Baku with Verstappen.
Yeah.
He was changing direction a bit too many times. We'll have to see if Verstappen moved in the braking zone. He kind of did, but I think Vettel is to blame there because he was just way too aggressive.
Verstappen was always defending the inside line there.
Yeah, I think Vettel way too aggressive in his movement of his car. And that incident is now under investigation. But yeah, I think Vettel will take the blame for that because that was his that was his problem, and Vettel, yes, has some kind of issue. He has a broken front wing, but I think there's more than that because he's going really, really slowly. He's down to 13th. So Sebastian Vettel is out of this race, and amazingly, Nib, Max Verstappen is still going.
I don't know how. I thought his suspension was broken, but that just was him bouncing along the gravel. But surely he has some massive diffuser damage because
He should do.
Vettel, well, yeah, went right in the back of him.
Absolutely. That as Vettel comes in and puts on a new front wing, I think though there's more damage than that. I think Vettel has more damage than just the front wing because he was going very slowly for front wing damage, honestly. That all promotes Carlos Sainz to 6th, then it's Ricciardo 7th, Albon is now to 8th, then it's Raikkonen 9th, Hulkenberg in 10th. Sebastian Vettel's now last. Sergio Perez has just gone past him. So Vettel is now 17th and last. Be interesting to see if he can come back from this to get to the points. There's only 12 laps to go though, so I don't think that's possible.
Surely not. He's got no rear downforce.
Yeah,
surely not.
I don't think that'll be possible. Stroll P11, Kvyat P12, P13, Lando Norris. Good news. And Kvyat's just passed Stroll somewhere. And is that Lewis Hamilton? I think trying to lap Sebastian Vettel. Possibly. And here's a replay of it. I'll let you take us through it, Nib.
Yeah, Verstappen runs wide after he went around the outside of Vettel. Vettel looks to go the inside, tries to come back across. There was never room on the inside. And then Vettel just ran straight into the back of Verstappen. Quite clearly, Vettel's fault there.
Yeah.
There was never a space there to begin with down the inside. Vettel waving his hand up. I'm not too sure why. He's completely destroyed his own race and Max Verstappen's, who was driving brilliantly. Yeah, absolute slam dunk penalty there for Vettel. And of course, because, well, he is quite low down. Look, Max was looking in his mirrors, expecting Vettel to be around the outside, and he's just got absolute massive shunt from behind. So, yeah, quite clearly Sebastian Vettel's fault on that one.
If Sebastian Vettel blames Verstappen for that after the race, then I will absolutely lose the plot, because how that could be seen as Verstappen's fault, I do not know. That's clearly Vettel's fault, just piled into the back of him. Verstappen defended the inside because he thought that Vettel would just go to the outside, but he didn't. So poor driving from Vettel, you have to say. And again, yeah, that is probably a slam dunk penalty. Now, the next thing to look out for is
Ricciardo Sainz.
True, but also, when will Valtteri Bottas come into the pit lane? Because he's not used a different compound of tyre, unless he's pitted completely out of nowhere. But I think Valtteri should be coming in pretty soon. If you look at the gaps, he will come out, I think, in P4 at the moment. So if he was to pit now, which he probably should.
Oh, look at Max understeering like an absolute tugboat.
Absolutely. Just going to quickly post a different picture of the contact between Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen. There you go. Vettel straight into the back of Verstappen, and as we've said, that is a slam dunk penalty. And there you are on the TV. It is Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz. And Ricciardo very close now. Ricciardo, I think, pitted a couple laps after. A couple laps after Carlos Sainz. So Ricciardo will have fresher tyres. Also, Nib, can you just check that we're still streaming at the moment? Because my computer's being a bit weird at the moment.
Yep.
As Ricardo, is still following in the slipstream of Carlos Sainz. And
Yeah, we're still good.
right, we're still good. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. My computer's just being a bit weird at the moment. So, yeah, and I can see you guys. By the way, thank you for the super chat. Still I Rise 4485, who says, Hammer time, I'm dead. That was, what, half an hour ago? So, yeah, there you go. As Ricardo tried for a move there, and also Lance Stroll has come in to the pit lane. So, Lando Norris is now up to P12. Yeah, Ricardo now right on the back of of Carlos Sainz. Also, interesting to note that despite him passing Gasly, Leclerc's not pulling away. He's only 1.5 ahead. But here comes Ricardo.
I think Leclerc reported a little bit of it, that he had some damage after he ran over one of the curbs when him and Verstappen went side by side. So I think Leclerc's nursing a little bit of an issue.
Possibly, as Ricardo feigns to the inside. Sainz holds the line pretty well. And by the way, thank you guys so much. We have about 1,500 people watching live. Great to have every single one of you along for what is, you have to say, a classic race at Silverstone. And Ricardo, still within the DRS of Carlos Sainz. It's still a miracle that Max Verstappen is going, and Vettel has a 10-second time penalty for that incident. And I don't think, Nib, we can complain whatsoever, can we?
Absolutely no complaints from me about that.
No, it was one of the clearest things I've honestly seen. By the way, though, Nib, look at the battle for P8. Albon, Raikkonen, Hulkenberg and Kvyat, they're all within DRS for P8. We need to start looking at that pretty soon, because that's a battle that's going to come alive pretty soon. You have to say, Kvyat's been pretty good today. Started P17, and now he's right on the back of those drivers for points, as Ricardo's still within DRS of Carlos Sainz. Again, Valtteri Bottas. I assume maybe Bottas is going to try and build enough of a gap and then pit on the final lap. I don't know, but still isn't in.
What Vettel did at Monza way back in the day.
Yeah, back in 2010.
Yep, but Ricardo just seems to be losing that time through Chapel, but he does look a little bit closer than he has been. No, he's nowhere near this lap, actually.
Here we go.
Previous.
Oh, Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg's car's broke. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen for P8. And the Iceman's done it. Kimi Raikkonen P8. Somehow, some way, he gets into the points in the most unspectacular of ways. But Nico Hulkenberg is out of this race, I think, unless he bumped across the grass. But he was going really slowly down the Hangar Straight. But Kimi Raikkonen is up to P8. With Albon P9 and now Kvyat is P10. So both Toro Rossos in the points. Who would have thought that at the start of this Grand Prix? But yeah, Hulkenberg looked to have had some kind of issue because he was going really slowly. And Hulkenberg now drops back to P.
Him and Kvyat were side by side, I believe.
As they approached,
looks like it.
As they approached Chapel, I believe they were very close.
Is it raining? Is it starting to rain? Is there a little bit of weather coming around, or what was that team audio for?
I don't know, but Valtteri Bottas, I'm sure, does have to pit in a moment, so maybe they feigned a pit stop. I don't know. Maybe it is raining. Who knows? We can't see the lap times to see if it is raining or not, but I don't know.
I don't think it is.
But Leclerc and Gasly still pretty close. You can see there on the mini-map, Ricciardo right behind Carlos Sainz, stalking the rear end of his car. And yeah, Valtteri's still on the medium compound tyres. We're on lap 45, by the way, out of 52. And we are just, still looking at battles on track, but also waiting to see when Valtteri Bottas will come in the pit lane. If you look at the gaps, Nib, I think Valtteri is probably going to do enough, isn't he, to get P2, because he's building a monumental gap.
Yeah, he should have the gap now to Leclerc. It's 21 seconds? Yeah, he should have the gap now.
Yeah, he should. So Valtteri should be in the pits pretty soon. As Ricciardo still about half a second behind Carlos Sainz. Kvyat now within DRS of his teammate. Albon, that was a Williams. I thought that was a Mercedes. And yeah, here comes Valtteri Bottas for a set of soft compound tyres. So he might get the fastest lap, Valtteri. Probably should. Now comes into the pit lane and comes into his box. And gets the tyres on and goes. Let's see where he comes out. He should come out in P2, hopefully. And no, that's that's Vettel. That's Sebastian Vettel, who has been lapped, by the way, lapped because of that incident. Where is Bottas in relation to Leclerc? Bottas is comfortably ahead by about 3 or 4 seconds. So Valtteri Bottas will claim P2 at the British Grand Prix. A Mercedes 1-2 it will be, as Kvyat has passed Albon. Kvyat is up to 9th and on the move after Kimi Räikkönen. Kvyat's on a roll at the moment. So Kvyat 9th, Albon 10th. If you told Toro Rosso that'd be their result, they'd snap your hand off for that. By the way, great to see that George Russell, look, he's not a lap down, and look how far he is behind Stroll. He's only 9 seconds behind Stroll and 20 behind Norris. What a performance by Russell and the Williams. And here is, who's this? Ricciardo with Carlos Sainz. And I think Sainz is probably going to hold on. But if Ricciardo has any more battery left, then maybe he can go for a move. But I think Carlos Sainz looks like he's going to just about hang on. But Ricciardo looks a bit closer now, as they now come through Maggots and Beckett's and on to the hangar straight. And yet Ricciardo just losing too much time, I think, in the corner beforehand on the hangar straight, as Carlos Sainz weaving around trying to break that slipstream. Here comes Ricciardo down the inside. No, Sainz. Oh, but Sainz goes a bit wide. Ricciardo might get run. Down to the final chicane. Surely Ricciardo won't dive it from there. No, he won't.
Can you stay when they cross the finish line? Because I'm out of sync.
Oh, okay. So Carlos Sainz has crossed the finish line right now.
Cheers.
So Ricciardo is, what, 4 tenths behind Carlos Sainz. Now 3 tenths. Will he go for the move down the inside this time? No, he won't at turn 3, but he looks a bit closer now than he has done before. He's
clipped that curb.
Yeah, clipped the curb a bit too hard, bit too aggressive on turn-in, but he will still bring himself along in the DRS zone. So he will continue to come along, but this is the only battle on track now. And what's this? A Mercedes going to pit for Lewis Hamilton? No, they're not. I don't know why they're thinking about that. No need to take an unnecessary risk as far as I'm concerned, as Sergio Perez is pitted, probably to retire, as Hamilton laps Russell. But again, for Russell to not be lapped, I know there was a safety car halfway through, but for it to take 48 laps for him to be lapped, that's a great performance by Russell, as Valtteri does a new fastest lap, a 27.4. And here comes Ricciardo, but again, not close enough. Let me quickly.
Come on, Dan. just not there.
Yeah. Let me quickly update the back end. So Vettel is 16th and is probably going to beat Kubica possibly by the end of this race. But disappointing for Vettel. Ricciardo is not close enough this time than he was the lap before.
If he can get a better run, though, out onto the hangar straight, who knows? Oh, he's struggling a little bit there. Car snapping on him. Doesn't hit the curb quite as much, but I've noticed that lots of the drivers go for that tighter line if they're behind another car. But Ricciardo, not close enough to overtake. Into Brooklands. It's going to have to be down into Stowe. I think that's probably Ricciardo's best bet at the moment.
And
down into Stowe nearly.
Yeah, and you have to say also he looks a lot faster in the build-up to that DRS straight than the first one down to Brooklyn. So it looks more likely to happen at the end of the lap than the start of it. And through Copse they come.
Yeah, you can see Ricciardo a lot faster out of Copse.
Absolutely. And Ricciardo will be desperate to beat Carlos Sainz for the constructors, because right now McLaren are still outscoring Renault because Hülkenberg and Norris are outside the points. So this is vital for the constructors as Ricciardo closes in. But again, he needs to be about 0.2 of a second closer on the exit of the previous corner onto the hangar straight if he's going to get an overtake done.
And if you can stay close here and gain through this little section here down into turn 1 and be close into Brooklands, basically Ricciardo just needs to be closer, as he is certainly closing into closing in on Sainz here, closer than what he was on the previous lap, but don't think he'll be close enough. Going for a little bit of a wider line there might help him a little bit, but he's not going to get past Sainz into Brooklands.
No, he's too far behind. And on the DRS straights, he's gaining about 0.3 of a second. So if he can be about 0.4 behind going into a DRS straight, he should be able to at least go for the overtake and attempt to get it done. As guys, we have 3 laps to go. 3 laps to go. Lewis Hamilton leading from Bottas second, Leclerc third, Gasly fourth, Verstappen fifth. Carlos Sainz for the moment in P6, then Ricciardo P7, Raikkonen P8, Kvyat P9, Albon P10. And then outside the points, not finishing in the points, is Hülkenberg, Norris, Stroll, Russell, Kubica, Vettel and Perez. As Ricciardo went a bit wide there, so he won't make the move this time.
I've noticed that Ricciardo's fantastic through Maggots, but then his line compromises him through Beckett's and then Chapel, and he's not able to close the distance, close the gap on the hangar straight. So I think that's what is costing Ricciardo a little bit here.
Yeah, by the way,
Vettel gets past Kubica.
Yeah, into 15th, but he won't get any higher because there's not enough time left, I think, to catch Russell. And by the way, he is lapped, so he only has about 2.5 laps to go, as Lewis Hamilton is about to become the most successful driver at the British Grand Prix. He's level with Alain Prost and Jim Clark for the moment with 5, but if he wins in a couple laps' time, he'll be a 6-time winner at his home Grand Prix. And you have to say, he has been fast enough to win today. Whether he was absolutely going to beat Bottas today, who knows? But I think he was the faster driver, and somehow, some way, I think Lewis Hamilton would have won this Grand Prix because, as we saw early on, he has been clearly the faster driver as we start 51 out of 52. Penultimate lap we're on now. And Ricciardo, pretty close to Sainz. We're not seeing it though, as usual.
Show us.
That's the only battle on track. Kvyat has now got within DRS of Kimi Raikkonen also, so that might be another battle to look at the end. And here we go into Stowe. Again, 0.2 of a second too far behind. As into the final chicane, he looks a bit closer this time, but not close enough. Kvyat, though, 0.5 second behind Kimi Raikkonen for P8. Now it drops to 0.9, so he must have made a slight error. But Kvyat might get P8 yet from Kimi Raikkonen, which would be a great result. And yet, Ricciardo is closer
through that part.
He is now turns into turn 4 and still not close enough though. As he's going to come down to Brooklands and yet not be close enough. But Kvyat might be able to get Raikkonen. He's just about within DRS, and Raikkonen and Kvyat are about 11 seconds behind this pair, Sainz and Ricciardo. But we are now on the final lap. Lewis Hamilton starts the final lap of his home Grand Prix, and he's about to take another race win in 2019 as he now comes through turn 4. We're probably going to be staying on board for Hamilton's lap, I'm afraid, because of course he's about to win instead of the battles on track, such as the battle for P6 and P8. Hamilton into left field, easily does it, and we'll take win number 6 in just a moment. He comes now onto the old pit straight, into Copse corner, And you have to say again, I think he has probably deserved to win today because he has had the best pace out of anyone this weekend. And Albon has been passed by Hulkenberg for the final point on the final lap. What a disaster for Albon as Hamilton comes into Stowe and will take his 6th win at the British Grand Prix as all the fans applaud and cheer him on down to the final chicane. And winning the 2019 British Grand Prix for the 6th time at his home track is Lewis Hamilton, winning for Mercedes. And he takes an even more commanding lead in the World Championship.
As he set fastest lap on the last lap.
So he's done a 27.3. Bottas, I don't think will do the fastest lap as Vettel there coming across the line in 15th place. Here comes Bottas, P2. And then P3, Charles Leclerc. I think Leclerc got a bit lucky to get a podium, to be honest, but he did drive very well in his defence and all of that. Ricciardo's right behind Carlos Sainz for P6, but we're not seeing it. And no, I think he's just too far behind. So he'll probably finish in 7th, will Ricciardo, but Hulkenberg has gone and took.
As Albon's fallen off the cliff and dropped down to 12th.
Yeah, Norris has just passed him as well. So shame for Albon, great drive, but I think his tyres, he's on the medium tyres, remember, and he pitted for them around lap 15. So they're completely dead. They've been on his car for 40 odd laps, but there you go. That is your finishing order for 2019 British Grand Prix. And let me get another picture on screen for you guys of your race winner, Lewis Hamilton, who is currently waving to the crowd. Yep, Hamilton winning from Valtteri Bottas. Let me quickly replace this text as well on the top left. Lewis Hamilton is your winner from Valtteri Bottas in 2nd, Charles Leclerc 3rd, Pierre Gasly 4th, Max Verstappen 5th, Carlos Sainz 6th, Daniel Ricciardo P7, P8 Raikkonen, 9th Kvyat, 10th Hulkenberg, 11th Norris, 12th Albon, 13th is Stroll, 14th Russell, 15th Vettel, 16th Kubica, and 17th is Sergio Perez. And then your retirements are Antonio Giovinazzi, not Kimi Raikkonen, Romain Grosjean, and Kevin Magnussen. And yep, Lewis Hamilton does get the fastest lap point, a 1:27.369. So obviously turned it up to qualifying mode for that one.
Did a Sebastian Vettel.
Absolutely. And here he is. Here's his onboard on the screen. And he is your race winner. But guys, that is the race over with. And yeah, let me know in the live chat, what did you think of the 2019 British Grand Prix? Nib, what a race. What a race. That was, I honestly think that was better than Austria because it was a race-long battle between so many cars. What a race that was.
I 100% agree with you. That is the best race of 2019. We've had absolutely 2 back-to-back spectacular races. Wowee, that was brilliant. To start us off on the first lap, Norris and Ricciardo side by side through Copse and Maggots and Beckett's, and then at about the 500,000 lap long battle between Verstappen and Leclerc. That was absolutely spectacular. That did not want to stop. And then, of course, we had the drama between Vettel and Verstappen, where Vettel just completely took Verstappen out. You had Gasly overtaking Verstappen. Sorry, Gasly overtaking Vettel, not Verstappen. It was a fantastic, fantastic race. Hamilton deserves a win in the end. He was the fastest driver as he's come to a stop on track here. Not entirely sure what he is doing. Is he running out of fuel here? No, he's getting a British flag.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Right, radio. I was a bit bamboozled by what was going on there. But wow, fantastic Grand Prix. Hamilton deserving winner. He was much, much quicker than Bottas in the first stint. Bottas did very well to stay ahead by overtaking Hamilton up the inside of Copse. I think Hamilton in the end would have got past. Of course, the safety car helped him get the lead, well, got him the lead of the race. And after that, he just controlled it as, of course, Bottas was on, or had to pit again. So in the end, a comfortable day for Hamilton, a comfortable day in the end for Mercedes, another 1-2. But guess what? A Mercedes 1-2 does not equal a boring race for the first time this season.
Absolutely.
Second time.
Yeah, second time, Bahrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, great race. Also, you're forgetting the Leclerc pass on Gasly. Wow, what an overtake.
Days.
Right around the outside of 3 into 4. And for tomorrow's incident analysis, I don't know if I'll have enough time to analyse everything from this race because there's so much to look at. Lap by lap, Leclerc and Verstappen were going wheel to wheel, banging wheels. Vettel and Verstappen, as you said. That is why Silverstone is probably one of the best racetracks in the world, because it produces racing like that. And that's why it cannot go away from the calendar. Yeah, with the race now over, guys in the live chat, let me know, what did you think of the 2019 British Grand Prix? Let me know, and also let me know your driver of the day. My driver of the day is, you know what, I'm going to go Kvyat. I know that's a surprise.
Ooh.
17th to 9th and almost got 8th. I'm going to go Kvyat for driver of the day. What are you going to go for, Ned?
I'm going to go for Charles Leclerc, purely for his defensive driving, his overtakes. For me, Leclerc is driver of the day.
I don't blame you for going for him, but I think Kvyat, I'd love to have seen a bit more of Kvyat, honestly, because he made a lot of moves. He got past, what was it, Norris, Albon, Hulkenberg, Stroll. I would have loved to have seen a bit of Kvyat's race because he was really on a charge at the end of the Grand Prix. And again, I think 17th to 9th. Yes, there were retirements, but I don't think those retirements were necessarily from drivers who he would have been behind. Maybe Giovinazzi, but not the two Haas's. Yeah, I'm going to go Kvyat for my driver of the day. But yeah, guys, let me know in the chat what you think for driver of the day. I'm seeing plenty of Lewis Hamilton's. Lewis was very, very good today. I'm not doubting that. He was one of the best drivers today. He easily had the pace to win. Yeah, I'm going to go Kvyat because I think 17th to 9th, that's pretty hard to do in Formula 1. Also, other good drives. Carlos Sainz did benefit massively from the safety car, but had to still stick in there, stay ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, and I think has proven again why in 2019 he has been one of the best midfield drivers, if not the best midfield driver. Charles Leclerc, great defensive performance. I feel a bit sorry for Valtteri Bottas, but he was never going to win, I think. I also, though, feel sorry for Max Verstappen because I think he would have probably... I think Max could have finished in P2, possibly, because you have to remember Max and Vettel were, 4 seconds clear of Leclerc, and they were faster. So I think Max could have been in there for P2. I think we have to remember that Max drove very, very well today. Also, Gasly for sticking in there and being right there with the Ferraris, and his overtake on Vettel was great. Ricciardo, good drive. So many good drives. Kimi Räikkönen, P8. Good drive from P12, and at one point he was down in 15th after pitting. Albon, I think Albon drove well. I know he finished in 12th and fell off a cliff, but I think he drove well. And also, big shout out to Russell for being not that far off Stroll in the racing point. So there you go. Right, let me look at some comments here. Han Solo says, I feel sorry for Max. He outraced Leclerc and probably would have gotten P2 if not for Vettel. I'm not absolutely sure he would have got P2, but I think he would have been right there for a battle. No doubt about it. Tonka Toy Truck says, still Lewis tried to pass him and failed. I don't know what Tonka's saying. Hopefully he can clarify what he's saying in a moment because I haven't seen what he said. Michael Arvin says Max would have been P2 if had it not been for Seb. Yeah. Driver of the day, Leclerc for Matt Stanek. Rookweeb says driver of the day for George Russell. Crystal Racing says, so proud of Kimi. Well, you have to be. I'd love to see how Raikkonen also got to P8. I mean, we saw him pass Albon with a great move around the outside at Stowe Corner, but Kimi Raikkonen, he's such a funny driver. I think it was said in Mexico last year, he always has the most boring drives to great results. And again, today, just, completely out of view from everyone else, P8. With, again, completely out of view from anything else that's going on. He's so good at doing that, is Kimi. Max driver of the day. Right, let me find Tonka's comment. Tonka says, Bottas got robbed by the safety car. Lewis tried to pass Bottas and failed. True, but Lewis might have passed him later on, and Lewis might have overcut him with his, his whole hammer time stuff. So we can't. And also, that's another thing. Valtteri put the medium tyres on at his first pit stop, so safety car or not, he would have had to pit again. So Hamilton, in effect, was always going to win because Mercedes put Bottas on a set of medium tyres. Maybe they would have done the same with Hamilton, but he stayed out a lot longer, so he probably would have gone on to the hard compound tyre. So I think at the end of the day, Lewis Hamilton was always going to win this Grand Prix. And I think has deserved to win the Grand Prix. Astro Stevo says, hard to see Valtteri winning the title from here. I made a video, a week ago, saying that Lewis is heading towards his 6th world title, and today is more evidence because he's way too hard to beat. Right, let me look at some more comments. Sebastian says, what a race that was. Leclerc was so good today. The fact that he was keeping Max behind was unreal. Driver of the day without a doubt. Again, I understand that, but not sure I'd go for driver of the day, but he did drive very, very well. Will Solly says, do you think Ricciardo played it safe and preferred to hold P7 rather than risk crashing? No, I don't think he did. Because you got to remember, and I said this during the race, that battle was very important when it came to the constructors. And now McLaren, even though they haven't had the greatest weekend, have still pulled away from Alfa, Renault, and all the other teams. So McLaren have still come out on top in the midfield, despite not having the best weekend. So Ricciardo would have been desperate to get past to get those 2 extra points for him over McLaren. So I think Ricciardo would have absolutely been trying to get the position. And also a couple of people saying, oh, maybe Bottas was on the wrong tyres. Tonka saying that. Yeah, probably, but they didn't know the safety car was going to come out, which made it even worse for him. But yeah, maybe they could have put the hard tyres on, but I still think Lewis probably would have come out on top. Yeah, Nib, what do you think about that? Do you think Lewis would have won anyway?
Yes. Yeah, I said it before. Lewis was faster than Valtteri. Lewis was going on it for a longer first stint than Valtteri and probably would have gone on the hards anyway. So I think that and of course then Valtteri would have had to pit again. So I think that he probably would have won the race. Yeah.
Yeah, and also if you look at the first stint, Lewis Hamilton was within DRS, I think every lap except for Valtteri's in lap. So Lewis was being held up, he was faster, and I don't think Valtteri would have held him back that long to win the Grand Prix. I will say that I think Valtteri defended very well. Let's not remember the battle between Bottas and Hamilton. Valtteri coming back at Hamilton into cops and all that. Great racing. But yeah, Valtteri, was he going to beat Hamilton? I don't think he would have. I think Lewis, again, would have found a way to beat Valtteri Bottas. Right. Let me look at some other comments here. Lane Edwards says, looks too easy for Hamilton. Let me look at some others. Right. Thomas Hill says, Charles has podium last 4 races in a row. Vettel none in the last 3 races. I think Vettel might be sacked as poor qualifying in the last 3 races. I don't think that'll be the case. But if Vettel continues the current form that he's in, then he is looking to be replaced, probably not for next year, but for the year after, at Ferrari. He definitely has to get out of this rut of form he's in. But yeah, Leclerc again drove well today, but I don't think he deserved a podium. I think Max Verstappen deserved a podium instead of him, but that's the way things are in Formula 1. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Right, let me look for some other cars here. Is this the end of Vettel? Well, I said in yesterday's stream that I think Sebastian Vettel's peak was 2015, and I don't think Sebastian has got any better since that season. He's still very good, but he's not, you know, how he was in Red Bull or how he was in 2015, where he was outperforming the car most of the time. At the moment, ever since Canada, he just hasn't really looked like he can really do anything that great. I mean, Austria, he was very unlucky. I think he would have been on the podium in Austria, but this weekend, you have to say, he has been very poor. Yes, he got into, P3, but that was only because of the safety car. And then after that, he didn't have the pace to keep Verstappen behind, and I think Leclerc would have caught him because Leclerc was on, lap fresher tyres, and Leclerc was faster this weekend. So Vettel, you have to say, has had a really poor British Grand Prix of 2019, which is a massive difference compared to last year's British Grand Prix in 2018, where he was so great and he won the race in one of his best wins of his entire career. But now he's completely at sea. Yeah, for Vettel, Nib, do you agree? Do you think Vettel was on the downslope?
Well, obviously since Germany last year, but since of course he had a good result in Spa, where he then won. But since then it's just been absolutely awful. Hasn't won a race. Hamilton has won about 15 races since then, and yeah, it just hasn't been good enough really from Vettel. I don't know if he will retire. Of course, there'd been strong rumors in the week off of Vettel retiring again, and then potentially Ricciardo going to Ferrari. But yeah, I don't know with Vettel. I don't think he will retire. The sport, even though what he said, I don't know if he does love the sport. If I'm perfectly honest, he cares about the sport. I'll
Yeah.
say that because after his comments last week, he certainly, after the Canadian Grand Prix, he doesn't love the sport like he used to. He still cares a hell of a lot about the sport, but yeah, I'm not really sure where Sebastian Vettel goes at the moment. I'm not sure.
And yeah, and well, the next race is that race at Hockenheim. Hopefully, he doesn't have any PTSD from that race because, well, it seems as though he kind of does. Because ever since then, he has rarely put in a great performance ever since that race at Hockenheim. Again, the only great races were really Spa, Mexico, Abu Dhabi, and then Monaco and Canada this year. But except for that, he's not really been consistently great ever since that era. So, yeah, shame, but, you know, that's his issue. He has to deal with it. But as we now start coming to the end of this stream, and we'll come to the end shortly, I just want to show this. This is the final race classification of the 2019 British Grand Prix. So, your winner, Lewis Hamilton, from Valtteri Bottas second, Charles Leclerc third, Pierre Gasly 4th, Max Verstappen in 5th, Carlos Sainz in P6, Daniel Ricciardo P7, Raikkonen 8th, Kvyat 9th, Hulkenberg 10th, And then outside the points, but finishing Norris, Albon, Stroll, Russell, Kubica. Kubica ahead of Vettel for some reason. Don't know why that is. So Vettel 16th apparently according to FOM, and then Perez.
Penalty.
Oh yeah, penalty. That's true. Penalty. So Vettel finishes behind both Williamses. How embarrassing. Perez 17th, and then your only retirements: Antonio Giovinazzi and the two Haas's of Grosjean and Magnussen. And this weekend, and this week has been the most embarrassing and worst week in the history of Haas F1. And well, it can surely only get better from now, because this week has been a disaster. It really has. Right. Let me now read out some final comments and then we'll come to the end of this stream. By the way, just to let you guys know, I will be uploading a race review of this race in about an hour's time at 5 PM UK time. And tomorrow, I will be doing an incident analysis video for the two things I'm going to look at is the racing between Verstappen, Leclerc, Gasly, Vettel, Gasly, Leclerc, and the incident between Verstappen and Vettel. That will be uploaded at 12 PM UK time tomorrow. It might be a bit long of a video, but this race has been so great, I don't think that really matters. I'm going to try and cover it in the best way possible, no matter how long the video is. Nick says, did Vettel get a penalty? Yes, he got a 10-second penalty, and that's why he was so far down, because he broke his front wing. So pitted, and yet finished down in P16. Paul says Bottas was screwed over. In terms of tyres, yeah, maybe. Whoever says that race was dull is a fool. Yeah, there's no way anyone can say this race was boring. No way. I love this username. Big Smoke says Kimi is carrying Alpha. True. He finished. What was it? Where did he finish in France? Was it P8? No, P7 in France because of Ricciardo's penalty. P9 in Austria, and now P8 in Silverstone. So Kimi has had 3 strong points finishes in a row and hopefully keeps up going to Hockenheim, where Kimi is pretty good at Hockenheim. If you look at his history, tends to always be, there or thereabouts. By the way, another super chat from Bobby Pignard for $2. He says, hey Chazza, hello to you Bobby. I know you're in the Discord. Hopefully you enjoyed the race. But I'll read out a couple more comments and then we'll get to the end of the stream. Keelon Pierre says, big up Chazza, fantastic live mate, really enjoy it. Keep up the good work, you and Niblo. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Let me just look at some of the comments. Chase says, and it's true, can't wait for Leclerc versus Verstappen for years to come. If that's the baseline, then wow, we are in for some great racing.
I can't handle that. If that is the standard of battling with a game between those two, I can't handle that.
Imagine a championship battle all season long with those two. Every race would be a classic.
A scream fest.
Yeah, just a 60-70 lap scream fest. Right. Rex 4x4 says, give thanks to Real for Real Chaz. Thank you. Tonka asks, why did Norris pit twice? Because he was on medium tyres and they pitted again because tyre wear issues. Another super chat from Bobby, who for $5 says, it was a great race. Sad what happened to Max though. Indeed, Max was on a roll in that race and drove very well again, but Vettel had to do what he did. Lucas says, Norris got screwed over big time. I think, again, they weren't expecting a safety car. I think if there was not a safety car, Norris's strategy probably would have worked, but it didn't because of the safety car. Same was also for Albon. And right, let me find one more comment here. And final comment, Blair Walsh, who says, too bad Norris didn't take Hulkenberg. He was very close at the end. Yeah, 1.5 away. So, yeah, could have got that point, but he didn't. But guys, that is it for the 2019 British Grand Prix. What a weekend and what a race that was. Nib, thank you very much. Also for, syncing up your coverage with mine and helping out that way. And yeah, thanks for being around for, being a part of the stream and just watching that race with us because, wow, what a great Grand Prix.
Yep. Found a solution, thankfully, because my TV was being a bit of a pain syncing up with yours.
Yeah.
Vettel has admitted that it was actually his mistake, so that's good to see. But yeah, no, that was an incredible race, best race of the season, non-stop action, fantastic, and of course, always glad to be on stream. And thank you to everyone in chat who was along for the race. Always great to see such a huge turnout, especially with the race being shown live on Channel 4. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next weekend for the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, podcast next Saturday at 3 p.m. UK time for anyone new. And I just want to say as well, thank you to everyone who watched live. And I don't know how many people we had watching at one point, but again, to have that many people, 1,600 watching live, when it's being shown on free-to-air TV in the UK, that is incredible to me. And it really does show that you guys are really happy with the content and that you do enjoy our, commentary of the race. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. But again, race review coming out in about an hour's time, reviewing, the events of the Grand Prix. And then tomorrow, incident analysis, looking at basically Red Bull versus Ferrari in all of the, overtaking and fights. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow at 12 p.m. UK time on Monday. Also, it's actually funny that Verstappen and Leclerc had their little fight today because I was supposed to upload a video about Charles Leclerc on Thursday, but I cancelled it because I wanted to work on a different type of video that is still kind of to do with Charles Leclerc. That video is called Max Verstappen versus Charles Leclerc, who is better. And what that video will be is me looking at who is the better driver in basically every key area when it comes to driving. That will come out on Thursday. And then, podcast will be on Saturday where we'll preview the German Grand Prix for 2019. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen. You can do it right there. Or go to my homepage, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Also, smash the like button if you want to see this content continue. Comment down below what you thought of this video and comment down below what did you think of the 2019 British Grand Prix. Was it great? Who was your driver of the day? What do you think of the performances and the racing? Let me know in the comments. And also, don't forget to join the Discord, best place for notifications of my videos and streams. And it's a hardcore Chazza HDF1 community. And also, follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110. And check out my website, chazhd.com, for more content like this. But guys, until my race review in an hour, until my incident analysis video tomorrow looking at the key incidents from today, and until the 2019 German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.